You're listening to Kate of Gaia on Critical Mass Radio. The game is up. Now, it's our turn.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Outside the Box. Yours truly, Kate of Gaia, coming at you, of course, live. Duh. The Dead Fiction, we'll leave that for the legal name people. Right here live on criticalmassradio.co.uk for a quick shout-out. It's BTR Listener. Thank you, Clarity. BTR Listener, for those that want to Skype in, is BTR Listener 058, of course, 13, Christ Consciousness, and it will be tonight because of what I am going to be sharing with you guys. Yeah, lots of interesting and wonderful, wild, it's been a crazy day on all fronts here. I've just been literally hit the floor running this morning and I haven't stopped. And it's all good. It's all good. So BTR Listener 058, put that in your Skype contact search. Hit search if you don't already have it listed. Remember, some of these numbers, guys, you can just call up in your Skype as soon as you hear it and right-click it and hit call. That'll bring you straight to the board. Once you're on the board, of course, you can hit 1 on Skype through the Skype dial pad. And for those that are calling in the landline, and Kathy, yes, I see your number there. I'm just going to do a little intro kind of thing, and then we're going to get you on board here. So just breathe and let's just zone in here and have a beautiful evening, which I know it will be. The phone number to call in is 661-467-2401. And I just want to begin. I got to tell you, it is when you get the joke, when you really get the joke, this place just gets more insane as you go, and funnier at the same time, which is very difficult for people to see if they're caught up in any form of a drama without actually seeing what's going on. I did have an opportunity to chat with quite a few people today, and all good, all good. So what I'm going to do is, for those that at this table regularly, you'll know that Kathy is Michael's husband, and Michael is the gentleman standing in the Maryland area. As I like to tell anybody, I had my opportunity to stand. I had 28 days of driving the system nuts from the inside, and it was actually, as painful as it was a lot of fun too, knowing exactly what I was doing while I was there. So, solitary, of course, being trans, they have to put me there, but I assure you, had I not been there to put me there anyway, last thing you want is this mouthy tranny walking around talking to people all day, every day. That would just not work for them, especially when the truth is as simple as no legal name, no game, and that's the only thread that's connecting. And one of the things that you guys are really starting to see and point out, and I'm loving watching it, is the anagogic nature of this reality where you're seeing the causal effects of a system crashing down around its own ears, which is the net effect of destroying itself by definition. Lots of panic in the British passport offices lately. Also seeing some pretty awesome transformations. Let me just go do a couple of things, and then I'm going to bring Kathy in here. Where was it? Okay, sorry, I had to get to my messages on Facebook. Here we go. This one's in from Chris. I love the Z thing as soon as I get it open here. And just wanted to share this. Oh, and by the way, guys, anything that you do not need to ask me for permission to use anything that is connected to me on the web, the website, documents, all of it. It's in the internet, the Ethernet for all, given freely for those that wish to use it freely. Do not seek permission outside of truth, outside of self. If it feels right, copyrights are for fictions. I don't play in the fiction world. I accept all things from creation as all things from creation, going back to all things creation. I do not make or claim anything, and at the same time am part and claim of all things. So try that one on. You don't need to ask me for permission to use anything. The songs are up there, the essays are there, all the information's there, and the truth be known, I can't give it away fast enough. So that's your answer, okay? please, you can use whatever website information, whatever linking, that's fine. Again, the only thing I will say, if you are going to quote me, if you feel the need to do that, then quote me directly. I've had it happen in the past where people have put my name to things that I did not write. And I would ask that you don't do that, because I have enough to do without trying to break something down analytically to prove why it is from me as it is from all of you.
Their walls are falling. The momentum is now with us. It's our time now. At the most pivotal point in history is Critical Mass Radio, 24/7 Truth Radio. Help us to help you. Please go to www.criticalmassradio.co.uk and subscribe £1, £2 or £3 a month. The critical mass has been reached. We must come together. We must stand together for ourselves, for each other, for our future generations. criticalmassradio.co.uk. Now, it's our turn.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm on. I know that I could hear. I think I can hear the echo now. Okay, good. Anyway, of course, you get to the nitty-gritty and shit like that happens. But just to continue on here, what I'm going to illustrate here, and then we'll bring Kathy in. What I'm going to illustrate here is the connection of the UCC and the UPU. Remember, Uniform Commercial Code is things Babylon, London, money, name, everything that traps you in the physical, and all things Universal Postal Union, UPU, which is your actual spirit. That's why you have an address outside of yourself. When you want to talk to someone, do you not address them? Okay, so this is the other illusion. So pay close attention to what is being shared here and see where we're at, because this lays out in perfect detail the fact that we have both sides of the coin in a stranglehold. It is done. So anyway, carrying on here. My daughter just received a letter today with no name, only an address. Her address from a third party whom requests a payment of, I guess, 10,000 kroner, or basically 1,100 Great British pounds, to be paid immediately. My daughter does not owe anybody any money, otherwise the case will end up in court. Indeed. Just imagine them sue an address. Do they have special address jails if the address don't pay? Nah, I don't think so. Exactly. But let's go even deeper just to make sure we see the anagogic on this. Not the literal. Remember, when I talk of strings that attach you to things in the system, I'm speaking of Rome and London. Remember, Washington, D.C. is just the direct current where everything captured from Rome and London is placed. And basically the holding tank for souls, the direct current of creation herself, which is being completely dissolved and is completely dissolved. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So there is your, for those that need proof, there's your absolute that the name fraud is completely exposed. And the only thing left for people to grasp is what the address is. Remember, reside, which means to kill. So if you say you reside here, or if you're a non-resident, I'm going to tell you why that is such bullshit. And I do want to. I'm not sure how much of it I will share, but I received a recording from Arthur K, who was just in the room. Apparently, truth he can't handle, and removed me from contacts again. So there you go. Sorry, you wanted an opinion. I told you the truth. You can't handle it. That's fine. You can stay in the literal legal, and you can keep enslaving and trapping people in legal. And I assure you that creation is going to bite your ass real hard. So you already knew the truth, Arthur, about your home when you made the sheriff go away with no name joinder. You are playing the game of allowing the demons and wolves back in by talking to others, thinking that legal matrix works. So keep that in your mind. It's not my wish. Once something is solved, to unsolve it again by staying in the legal, literal matrix. But if that's yours, that's yours. And don't say I didn't tell you. So there we go. Non-resident. Well, N-O-N can be pronounced known. Can it not? If an O can sound like an O in ocean, then it can sound like an O in non as well. Known. Resident. Known. To re-kill mind. Remember, Roman law, and I don't care, you can call it common law, civil law, bullshit law, any law in man-made terms is bullshit. It is all the same thing. It's all the same matrix using the one key that has your soul owned called the legal name. So let's just pay attention to that. All right, let's bring Kathy in here and get an update on Michael. And hopefully that was enough time to catch your breath. Kathy, how are you doing? Welcome to the North Table.
Yes, I'm doing fine. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, love.
Okay, wonderful.
Great to have you.
I'm doing good. Thank you. I am breathing, barely, but I'm breathing. Michael did want me to express a couple things for him, and I'm reading some notes, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. He said that he's 100% fine. He is having a good time. He is having an effect on people in there. He said he's holding his stand and doing it in the space of love. He's standing strong, keeping on regardless of what happens, and he's doing his best to stay on point. He appreciates everybody's efforts on his behalf. He asked that everybody, and this is important, he asked that everybody stay in the spirit of love and the space of love in all this. It is to honor him and his stand if you do. Apparently there have been some calls to the center and some emails with what they have perceived as threats that people were saying your soul is forfeit. And Michael wants, if anybody's going to speak anything on his behalf, he wants them to do it in the space and the spirit of love. He said I was told the calls are coming from all over the country, or the emails. How many there are, I do not know. But he thanks everyone for their interest and care, and he feels blessed by it. He says that he feels they are running scared and don't know what to do with him, and that he is not going to yield no matter what the results are, no matter what happens. So that was everything that he wanted me to communicate to everybody.
Excellent.
And I appreciate everybody's efforts on his behalf, too.
Absolutely. Now, what I'm going to share here is, just a sec. How did that move? Oh, my Outlook is not playing nice. Here we go. Where are we? I got to find the email that I sent. Is that the one? No, there it is. Okay, now keep in mind, as you used a beautiful word, what they perceived as threats. Truth to anyone not standing in the truth and living in a complete illusion, being confronted with that truth as to the harm they're creating on others, will always completely be deemed as a threat, regardless of how gentle you are, truth to anyone. This we know from our own experience. So that being said, here is, I told you guys the email went through. I knew it did. And the soul is forfeit was direct from me. And I only have benevolent intentions. All I like to do is make people fully aware. So the fear that others feel reading truth as it pertains to themselves, because only you can figure out the truth for yourself. I can't sort it for you. All I can share is an experience. And this is what Michael is doing right now. And as I said to you, Kathy, earlier, Michael is where he is because he is the only one strong enough to do that. That's why he's playing that role, just like two others are playing their roles within the system, being grabbed as well. So I just want to remind people of that. Okay? That's why I did 28 days solitary, because I was strong enough to handle it. Where others, I know, it would have crushed them.
Okay.
So it's all good. This is why everything is perfect. Now, so here was the email. Subject line was this: your soul is now forfeit. And it is. This is the reality. While you stand harming others, your soul is forfeit. It is my wish that you don't do that, so that your soul is not forfeit, and come on home. The bliss that awaits you, you have no comprehension of. So it's given completely with benevolence and love. It is my wish that all experience unconditional love and compassion and absolute mercy. But you got to choose that. I can't choose that for you. That's my choice. I choose that. So due to your insistence to murder people spiritually every day, along with your fellow parasites through the legal name soul trap, that's pure truth, by the way, yours and every other servant of the dark souls are now forfeit. And that is truth as well. You serve the whore of Babylon, commerce, crown corpse with your mark of the beast legal name as your consent to be dead, of the dead, serving the dead, and those that are your masters through your free will choice to do so. Better not do that. It is that choice that has your soul and countless other ignorant fools like yourself in the bond age, calling it as it is. All harms you create are the same ones you will experience, with this little note to remind you, burned and etched in your mind every time you ask the question, why me? Another truth. Sorry to share that with you, but that's a fact. If you punch someone in the face, expect one back. That's how it works. That's called the golden rule. At least now you know you did it to yourself. There's no one threatening here. You're the only one that is harming yourself. It is my wish, now here we go, it is my wish that you see this and stop your evil ways. The rest is now up to you, so don't bitch about the pain from the nails in your own hands and feet, because you are the one that swung the hammer to put yourself there. You are nothing more than a bail bondsman. No, the term bail is not a coincidence. It is your phonics clue to expose your self-destruction. Have a nice day. And now that you know what was really being said in Revelations 18, where the religio cosis chosenitis priests of Baal taught you fairy tales and their curses, well, you might say churches, but a CH can sound like a K as well, and CH sounding like a K that can sound like a C can also sound like an S. Phonics, no rules, all rules, same time. So churches becomes curses, and it works. Synagogues, look up Gog, G-O-G. Temples, and mosques. You might say mosque or mask, it's the same thing. Where the fools of humanity swallowed the Kool-Aid blindly. Bottoms up, fool or choose. Very, very simple. And yeah, I can see where someone that is actually creating harm against another would see that as a threat, because it's basically calling them out for the actions they're doing. And it's a simple request to stop doing that. And if you continue to do it, your soul is forfeit. And that's not my wish for you. It's quite the opposite. So there you go. It was kind of funny, Kathy, you mentioned that. As soon as you said soul is forfeit, my email did get through, because it came back about 5 minutes later, postmaster blocked, right? Or couldn't make it through. Normally that happens instantly. So, because I know people were sending Babylon is following along, and it was getting bounced immediately. I'm figuring that they had Kate of Gaia as a trigger filter or something along that line that was bouncing the stuff back very quickly. After you get one or two of these from people, yeah. This is the effect that Michael is having from the inside out. He's in the belly of the beast as the being to grow to destroy the giant. And like I said, Kathy, I can't think of anyone stronger or better than Michael right now.
Okay. I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers and positive energy towards him. And personally, I'd like to have him out, but
us too, hon.
He has to do. He has to do what he has to do. So
he's standing in honor and truth. And I want you to hear from a few other people at the board. So I'm going to do a call out right now, because I want you to know how important Michael is, just like you, everybody else that's standing. And hon, I cannot even begin to describe the terror I lived through going through this and figuring it out for myself without anyone. So I totally get where you are and know that. And I don't mean just think that, know that. So I just want to do a call out for everybody to have a chat with you, so you know that you are standing shoulder to shoulder, as is Michael, as is everyone at this table. And there's over 1 million listeners here every night. So the word's getting out. So Wendy, you're in. Randy, love to hear from you. Witness, you're in as well. So whoever wants to jump in here, and let's give Kathy the power-up of power-ups tonight, because she's right. We just got to make sure she knows she is.
Kathy, our beloved brother is standing in the whore of Babylon in the gut with the spear, and he's standing as a guide to all of us. And what he's doing is he is showing us the way, and we are following in his footsteps. I give that man all the credit he's due. and I wish that I could have beat him there, but he got the part. So
he got that part, and also, guys, put it in perspective. 200-300 years ago, you'd have got burned at the stake for defying authority. We're a far cry from that, don't you think?
Just a little.
Yeah, so this is what I mean. And even I have to go back to Dean Clifford. I just hope one day that boy will figure it out. Anyway, as he said on a show, I think about 2 years ago, I mean, what do we have to deal with here? Do a few days in jail? Mind you, he's been in since, November? So, but that's because he's being belligerent and he's thinking that he has to get vengeance against the system. That's the only thing holding him there, and the fact that he still thinks he's a name. That's the thing that's harming him and holding him in place. And the universe won't let you go until you figure that out. Michael knows who he is. This is why I know he's exactly where he needs to be. And every minute that he's in there is a festering sore on the Whore of Babylon. And you need to know that this is building up to a crescendo for him. Watch. Who else is jumping in here?
Hi, Kathy. It's Borean.
Hi.
I had the pleasure of talking to Michael before he went in. I had a personal telephone call with him, and he called me because he wanted to pick my brain about a few things, about a situation and what have you. And I actually let him know what he was getting himself into, and he understood. And in fact, he ended up cutting up his driver's license on the phone while I was talking to him right then and there. And so he understands completely and totally who he is, Kathy, and he wanted to stand in honor because I let him know that even just showing up to court, that's enough to get joinder for him in jail. So he knew that there was a chance, if not a good chance, that this was uphill. And the awesome thing about Michael is he completely understands this, and he understands this whole thing, and he wanted to do it in complete honor. And I thank Michael. I thank him, and we are all there standing with him. And the universe will protect him while he's in there, and he is literally changing. He's changing the universe. His universe right now is big. And go ahead.
I was going to say, Borean, absolutely. And here's a little allegory to bring this to full force and effect for everyone's reality. What Michael's doing right now is we're coming to the end of this, quote, war, unquote, of consciousness. And what Michael is doing right now is he wants to get in and experience combat before the war was over. And that's it, in a very allegorical sense. And what a way to end this movie. And again, I have no reservations because from my perspective and my own experience and the countless others here that have shared theirs, we know what we have. We have the truth, and everything bends in front of it. Completely.
Agreed.
Well,
no, please go ahead, Kathy.
I just wanted to say when you said that about him wanting to experience combat before it's over, he is a very courageous person. He is a very strong person, a very strong man. He has a very, very good heart. He is a warrior. He does have Scottish in him, so he likes a good fight. So
he likes a good strap.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's a man who has the courage to stand up for what he believes in, doesn't waver, and he's strong. So yeah, that's a true statement about him. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that's the first time I met him. That was exactly what I felt like. And now, for those, just coincidence that I do these things because I know they're not. But there's a series called The Band of Brothers, based on, it's a World War II thing. Of course, I look at things anagogically and of the energies and what have you. But there's the episode, I think it's the 7th or 8th episode, called The Last Patrol. And in that episode was a brand new, shiny first lieutenant, straight from, what do they call that place for officers in the U.S.?
A Naval Academy or
West Point.
Yeah,
West Point. West Point.
Yes, he was and these are real live people based on the history of this 101st Airborne 506 Easy Company. Now, there was a patrol. I'm going to use this as an allegory because this, I think, really outlines, because it's exactly what popped into mind when Boren was talking. And what happened was first lieutenant, who happened to graduate with Dwight D. Eisenhower's son on June 6, 1944. See the dates that all come in together. And, of course, if anyone watched The Scanners Darkly, there was a poster on the wall that said June 1944 to tie all this together. Again, remember, I'm looking at the one thread that ties it all together. And what happened was this lieutenant, the war was almost over. Everything was starting to simmer down. And, this lieutenant wanted to experience combat before the war was over. And he offered to lead this patrol, the last patrol for Easy Company, into enemy territory to get prisoners. That was the mission, to get prisoners, not to kill, but to get prisoners. This is why it's so important. What happened then was, because he didn't have the experience, another sergeant who was one of the first of Easy Company led it, but he was the ranking officer acting as an observer. And that's exactly how I see Michael. I see him as the ranking officer getting experience for combat while not being completely involved in it, but being involved in it at the same time. And this is the last patrol, hon. And he's the ranking officer in it.
Okay.
This is playing out.
I'm going to pass this on. Okay, I'm going to pass all this on to him. So this will be good for him. He will like to hear this. Thank you.
Well, that's the only thing that resonates with me. It's truth.
Okay.
Michael he's playing a pivotal role in this right now, and watch the outcome. Watch a system buckle under his very gentle feather. Me, I handle it hardcore. So, who else wants to jump in here?
Let me know, Kathy.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That was Wendy? Go ahead, Wendy.
It's
Wendy.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Kathy. It's Wendy here
Hi.
from Australia. Just let him know we appreciate that he's doing this for all of us, and we're all with him there in the cell with him.
Okay, I will tell
it.
him. I will tell him that. Thank you.
I have a question, Kathy. Have they got him in general population?
Yes, he is.
Oh, goody. Excellent. Now we can do the real work.
He is dropping bombs left and right.
Choke that beast, baby.
Yeah, he's educating those cats in there with him. Kathy, this is...
He said he's having a good time. He is. He is talking to everybody. He's making a difference. He's helping people again in the space of love, and it's all good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Reverb.
Hi, Kathy. It's Janet. I heard you and got to feel your energy so many times at the Emerald Table, and so beautiful what you and Michael are sharing with all of creation, and I'm just so honored that you guys are so loving to stand, and I just feel your energy, and we are all so with you, and it's just so beautiful, and I just want to just tell you thank you, and I'm just so honored to know you guys and to be part of this sharing, because it's so important right now. So,
what Michael is doing is he's standing for all of us. More importantly, he has decided that he will no longer tolerate genocide. He will no longer tolerate the raping and murder of children. He will no longer tolerate the enslavement of humanity through a dead legal fiction, legal name, soul trap. He is standing for all in the light. And this is why none of us will yield, because we know why we're standing. So Michael knows why he's standing. I've had many conversations with him. And I have met very few, well, I can't say very few, a lot more now than I've ever met in my life, but with the stance that he has, and it's actually a stance where he's holding it in bliss, not in anger, not standing with a fist, because he knows who he is. And this is what he's doing for all. Get ready for that present under the Christmas tree. Mama and Papa, part of all creation, digs that real good.
The truth requires no defense at all, and all you have to do is just stand in it and be, and that's what animals do. Awesome, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's a great quote, brother. That's a great quote.
Yeah, that's good. I definitely will pass that one on to him. Thank you.
Kathy, this is Randy. I also spoke with Michael before this, and he sure did know his intent was exactly what we're getting. I wanted to ask you, was there anything, what is it you want from this? And we will all bring it to you. We will will it to you.
I want him out.
All right, everyone, let's go to work.
I'll tell you something else, Kathy. I'll tell you who else. I'll tell you who else.
Let me add one thing to that. I want him out, but I want him free.
Oh yeah, he's free. This is the thing. There's only one other concept that wants him out of there more than you and him, and that's the system that he's tearing to shreds. And now they're caught between a rock and a hard place. This is why they got so agitated with the truth of soul as forfeit coming at them. Do not be disillusioned here. When I send something out, as well as others, we're not sending out offers. We are sending out contract, and we are sending out kangaroos that will jump around in the minds of those that read them until the house inside the head is wrecked and the heart finally opens and compassion finally shines through. And that's what he's doing. He's showing how to find compassion. And, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, that's a brand new racquetball kangaroo you're talking about there, sister, too.
Mm-hmm.
Bouncing all over. More like a Super Bowl. That's great.
No,
yeah,
nothing.
Kathy, I'm sending you my love. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, nothing rings louder and truer with me than knowing that there is a kangaroo of kangaroos just kicking the living crap out of an ego. And that's what it's doing, because the thing about truth is where the physical body or ego mind cannot hear it, the spirit always does. And, of course, love conquers all. That's you, the spirit of love, the law of truth. Yeah, good luck with that. And nothing agitates an ego more than getting confronted with their own misgivings, with their own harms against others. And this is why this planet, on a daily basis, I get to watch it in real time, have for the last 4 years. 4.5 years almost. Yeah, it is 4.5 years. And when I started out, I had no idea where it was going to end up. I just knew that I could not deny the truth any longer, and that if not me, then who can do this? So I had to take it upon myself, knowing that I could. And not only that I could, but that I would and that I should. That was the only choice I had to make. And everyone on this planet had to matter as much as myself and my own family. That's where I had to get to. That's where Michael is. That's where many of us are, if not all at this table. There is nothing but benevolence here. We wish no one any harm. We are here wishing the harm to cease. I think that's a better outcome. That's a better idea than the current bad idea we're living in, don't you think?
Yes.
Earth is just a bad idea
I agree.
Right now. So anybody else, guys? Flow the love of Kathy, and this is going right through to not only Kathy and Michael, but the whole family. And this is a beautiful display of honor of the absolute. And I'm not being trite here either, guys. You know I don't mince words. And I will not say something out of, well, this sounds airy, very altruistic. I only say it because I mean it. Say what you mean what you say. I just lost witness. Okay. Oh, here's Clarity. Yay!
Hello.
Hello, Clarity. And
Hello.
we got Liberty to put in too. Go ahead, Clarity.
Hi, Kathy. I want to say that I know this is not easy for you, and what Michael is doing is important in such a big way. He is brave, and he is showing such strength, and please let him know that we appreciate him, and that we are standing with him, and that the two of you have our full support. There is so much love being sent to both of you, and if there's anything at all that you need, please let Kate know, and we will do whatever we can.
Whatever you need.
Okay.
Many things.
Thank you.
Much love to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Here's a question for you. Now, Michael has access to a phone to call out. Obviously, if there's any funds needed for that, can you maybe let people know how they can help and flow energy to you guys so that you're taken care of? Universe has your back?
Yes. They have systems set up that you call up and you prepay for phone time and you prepay for a commissary to get, toothpaste, hair, etc., all sorts of things. I can give those numbers, or I can give them to you, and anybody who's interested can contact you. However you want to do it.
Well, share it on the air right now for everyone, and please, guys, write it down. I will not be around the computer at all tomorrow. I am away for the entire day, just letting you know that. So please, Kathy, share it with everybody, and anyone that can help get the word out to others in the Skype groups. I would ask that you take note of this and get this information around to as many people as possible. I'll get it posted on Facebook, and we'll make sure that Kathy, Mike, and the family, everybody's taken care of. And that's that.
Okay. The company for calling for the pay of the phone is IC Solutions, and their number is 888-218-7444. Again, it's 888-218-7444. You will need his number, which is 120008. And I think that's everything there. I do not have on me the information for the commissary, but I can get that to you, Kate, and then or I can call in tomorrow. I can call into the show tomorrow, and I would have it, but I don't have that information on me at the moment.
Just
for the commissary.
Hun, when you get a chance after the show tonight, if you want to get locate it and give me a quick call, I'll make sure it gets to the Skype room so that it can be shared. Paul is hosting the table tomorrow night, and he can get that information out as well. And yeah, whatever, like I said, whatever we can do, the faster we get the information, the faster Universe can deliver. That's how it works.
Okay, and sending information, sending emails. That's good too. I mean, the more the support, the more people take notice and the more people are aware. And in fact, Michael did make that statement. He said that he appreciates everybody, and he says, the more people know about it, the more the word will get out, and the more people will take a stand, is what he said.
Absolutely. And he is one domino that is creating a fractal ripple effect that you have no idea or imagination of right now, but I know what it is, and it's beyond large. It is rippling through the universe. This is what happens when someone knows who they are, and the true causal nature and their intent is known by the heart of all creation. And guess what happens? Shit happens. Good shit happens. So don't be blinded by any illusions of fear, because it is the illusion. And like I said, all I have is pity for those that are still worshiping the beast, if you will, and stuck so tightly in the matrix of the legal fiction world that is so abstract and so not you or I. And given the situation with you and with Michael, Kathy, I'm sure that do you have a PayPal account, by the way?
No, I do not.
Okay, because there's a means to help you guys out as well, like directly. That's what we're here to do.
Okay.
I'll tell you, there's nothing I'd love to see more than enough people jumping in here and checking in to make sure that, one, that $5,000 bond that was going to be stolen anyway, don't ever think you were getting that back, because you weren't. That's a fact. No, that's a fact, hon. I know this. Okay?
I understand.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was the lure to create an emotion, but that was also the setup for Michael to stand, which was perfect. So I see the contrasting mirrors of it being pure malevolence and pure benevolence at the same time. And Mike's intent is exactly where it needs to be on the benevolent side. But I know that if everyone listening, if there's anything you guys can do on that regard, I'd like to find a means where we can actually get stuff directly to you. So maybe tonight, if you can, I would even suggest if you could set up a PayPal account attached to an email to help that out. I'm sure you still have bank accounts, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I know that Michael is completely separated from that in his heart and mind, so there is no joinder there spiritually. I know that, and that's where you got to break these contacts, not going to the bank and saying I'm closing it. You've got to. This is Jesus pushing the money changers and lenders out of the temple. This is you pushing this crap out of your mind, because only when you push it out of your mind will it transform into the physical. We keep doing it backwards here. Thinking that we got to do something physical to create something, but you're actually doing it backwards. It's when you change your mind that the physical, and it takes a little bit to show up sometimes. Sometimes it's instant, and sometimes it takes a day or two or three, okay? This is why I tell people, stop trying to shop at the drive-through window expecting a 12-course Chateaubriand, you lay it out all perfect meal in a McHappy Meal bag. It doesn't happen that way, all right? So patience, Job, remember, the more patience you have, the more shuns you get rid of. What you're doing is you're paying the shuns out. Right? Just put it all away.
Well, Jesus did say, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So the power of intention to what we want, cool. What our intention is our heart. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, he was a pretty cool teacher. I mean, him and all the rest of the masters, if you want to call them that, were saying the same thing. Golden rule, that which you wish upon another, you wish upon yourself. And that's the biggest joke of all. I mean, the churches don't teach anything that Jesus was teaching. All they want you to do is be afraid that if you dare defy the system, we're going to crucify you. And they put the big motif of that up in the churches to make sure that the masses and the slaves look at it in fear. Whoa, if I do what Jesus did, that's how I'll end up. Yeah, but it's a allegorical crucifixion. You pass through all of these little tests to see if you can figure it out. And we did. This game is so over. And like I said, Mike is on the last combat patrol. And he's the commanding officer, just as an observer. It's perfect. I love it.
Well, he's going to appreciate all. He's going to appreciate all these thoughts and all these well wishes from everybody. He will. So, thank you again from everybody for all of this.
Oh, any time. So if you could help me out by getting something that I can help people to get, money or whatever you guys need to you, please let me know and we'll get the word out. Okay?
Okay, I will do that after the show, and I'll give you a call and I'll give you all that information. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and hang up now. And again, everybody, thank you. Much love, much appreciation from me, and also on behalf of Michael. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Kathy.
Thank you
so much.
Love you.
One last question before you go, Kathy.
Okay.
How tough was this?
How tough? I'm sorry, say it again.
How tough was this, coming and chatting with the rest of your family?
If I don't drink, but I think I need a drink now.
I love you. Well, go have one for me. I can't have it until Sunday. So there you go. Much love, guys.
It's not you guys. It's just the fact that you're on the radio and everybody can hear you and so on. So I'm a behind the scenes kind of person. So But I did want to stay. I wanted everybody to know what Michael had to say, and I wanted, I just want to make that contact, and I just want to say thank you. So that was it. Thank you so much. Okay.
Blessings.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good one, kiddo.
Thank you. All right, you too.
Okay.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later, love. All right, it's time to take care of our own, yes?
Agreed.
Yes, I guess I just missed Kathy. Kathy, are you still there or did you hang up? Okay.
She already hung up.
Okay. Oh, well, that's okay.
Well,
All's good.
hey,
Michael
Steve?
knows exactly what's... Yeah.
I was talking to her earlier, and she was actually very, very nervous about coming on tonight. So on behalf of Kathy, I'd like to say you did an absolutely fabulous job. And, it's just a phone call, guys. This is all I want to remind people of. So well done, and thank you for bringing that directly from source, i.e. Kathy and Michael, where me sharing it would just be me sharing it as I do with everything. So I always like to hear from you guys. So carry on there, Steve.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to give a shout-out to her. Michael and I had a very long conversation the night before he went to court, so I was just going to pass my personal love to him. And so, Kathy, if you are still listening, please tell Michael Steve Mahon sends his love, and he's there with him. And all is good.
All is well. It's perfect. You know, it's funny, when Kathy was talking, that's all the visual that came to mind was this brand new shiny officer, never seen combat, but knew all about it because he was trained in it, wanting that one opportunity. And of course it was, although it was a dangerous mission, it wasn't anything like the previous missions that Easy Company had been involved in. And it's just one to go and get prisoners. So there was no real intent of combat, just the potential of it. And of course there was a little bit, but everyone came out unscathed except the one individual who threw a grenade and ended up getting blown up by their own grenade. So that's another lesson. Don't throw grenades, they'll end up blowing you up. Perfect lesson.
Well, that's a pretty good picture of what Michael was feeling the night before he went to court. And, we talked a lot about that and about the fact that he was prepared either direction, and he felt that if it worked out the way it has currently worked out, that was all well and good, and he was more than prepared to go into the fray, so to speak, with a clear mind and a good heart, and do the work that needed to be done. So, yay, Michael.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's... Guys, we've all stood our ground. I mean, Steve, you've had to stand... You stood your ground for a long time, and you went through your own personal hell. Myself, everyone that's at this table have went through their own personal crucifixions to one degree or another, and all equally important in the individual's experience to give you exactly what you need in your experience to figure your game out. Doesn't matter, for me there is no, if you want to play victim, I did this and this was, in comparison to someone else, which is bullshit. How can I compare my experience with anybody else's? I can't. All I can do is observe. It's my contrast within me that I need to see, nothing to do with anyone else. So we've all had different levels of incursion, of last patrols, of crucifixion. And you know what it feels like when you get out on the other side? You're kind of going, yeah, I get it. And boy, can you stand, and the whole system buckles in front of you.
Well, the neat part for me was it actually buckles after you surrender to yourself, when you are crucified, when you give up all of that ego, when you just come to terms of endearment with yourself and your own heart and go from the heart instead of the head, and then it's just amazing how the air around you just changes.
In the twinkling of an eye. It really is that quick. And when you get your blinding aha moment where the light so bright inside you wakes you up, you'll know. And it's like, I get it. No way. Yahweh. It's funny. This one in from Kathy Franco, sending love and support to Kathy and Michael. Thank you. And I stand with you both. Much love. Well, thank you, Kathy. We all do. And this is the joy that, guys, when I see us standing shoulder to shoulder, when you touch one, you touch all. Do not touch, and I love this part of being part of all creation, do not touch my children. And we all need to say that for each other. Go ahead and say that. Do not touch my children, because we are all each other's child. I'm all in, baby. You know why? Because you're worth it.
Isn't there a story of... Were you done there, Kate? I didn't know.
Yeah, that was me shutting up.
Isn't there a story of Jonah and the whale?
Yeah, do you think? And the joke with Jonah was, even after he went through all that, he still didn't get it. He still went back to Babylon. That's that story.
Ah.
Bill Donahue does a beautiful one on Jonah. I think it's actually,
check that out.
Yeah, check out Bill Donahue's Jonah. I've listened to that one at least a dozen times. It's beautiful. Yeah, all these stories are allegories, guys. And remember this, the illusion of losing, right? From the words of the mighty Yoda. You must let go of all the things you fear to lose. Because only the things you fear to lose have a grip on you. That's a heartstring that is being pulled. Just snip it, Pinocchio. And it was there all along. You just have to click your heels together 3 times, Dorothy. But this is too simple. I know you will not believe this. Such is the nature of the program here. Such is the nature of this silly game. That you have been rendered into such a condition of self-doubt, of such an all-unknowing level, you finally got to experience the knowing of the all-unknowing and complete separation from the heart of all creation. Me, I'm heading home. I've had enough. Good one. Got the contrast. Moving on. So let this shit go, guys. Yes, indeed, Veritas. Shoulder to shoulder. That's the thing is, while I have your back, you have mine. And your back is covered to the point that I will never yield my position. Your back will always be covered. It is my wish that maybe you might feel the same way. And many of you do, and you show it by your actions. We have each other's back here, and we stand shoulder to shoulder. And where it might take a day or two, depending on what creation has in mind, what experience Michael has to have. But here's the thing. What was it? Something to do with not giving the name or some menial little ticket? It's not like there was a crime involved. So what Michael was also doing is showing the insanity of the system, to what lengths they will go to vampire and try to feed off those. I wouldn't be biting into Michael. That shit's going to wake your sorry human ass up, and then the rest around you are going to feed on you. Watch Daybreakers, guys. Watch the ending, and you'll understand exactly what I just said. This system will destroy itself, because a vampire cannot survive. The mere fact that it exists is proof that it will die.
And now that the system is feeding on itself, it's dying more rapidly by the day. It's amazing. And, you know, Kate, I have to give my hand and heart out to you for all the empowering, and I don't judge me on words, but the empowering that you have handed out through your knowledge and patience. And I also look back on, you know, what you and I and other people have gone through over the last few years, and gosh, how much strides we have made into the knowing of ourselves just over the short term that a couple of years ago we were still bouncing ourselves off the walls with, trying to figure it out. And so thank you so much for bringing all that you brought to the table, because it's been immense in helping all of us to understand who we are.
And in the mirror, it helps me too. This is why I love the whole notion of being selfishly selfish and selfishly selfless. Because in the service of all, in the absolute service of all, you're only serving yourself anyway. It's just a bigger picture is all. And that, you know what, Steve, I totally, see, the thing is now, words really go right through and past me because I'm only listening for intent. So that's why no one can ever say anything wrong to me. I will always get the intent. So never worry about the things that you say, because the intent will always shine through with me. And an ego is the only thing that needs to defend itself, and with me, you never have to, in any way, shape, or form, simply because I already know you're perfect. It would kind of be stupid and illogical to need to defend that, don't you think? And if I'm coming at you the same way you would come at me, benevolence and wishing no harm and wishing for you to have all of creation itself, like creation wants, nothing I could ever say to you could ever be misconstrued as wishing you harm. The only thing that would translate that is an ego that's still in action. So have a look at that and see what the trigger is, because I only wish benevolence. I only wish you all of creation's bliss. And I will do anything in my power to the point of you hating my guts to do it. Because truth be known, the only opinion that matters is yours. And unless you decide that somebody else outside of you has a better opinion of you than you might want to have a look at that, because that is insanity. No one has a better opinion of you than you. Remember that. So don't buy anybody else's judgmental bullshit. Have a look at it, water off a swan's back, move on. Just put a smile and say, okay, whatever, I'm good. Oh, you trying to offend me? No. Good luck. Good luck.
Hey, Kate, it's Sevan.
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, man, I had to get in here and say happy birthday to you. I got this this weekend action-packed thing going on, but I thought I wasn't going to be able to get with you on the day, but
you never
now
know.
It's better than ever, right?
Yeah, I might actually chime in. I'm going to be doing ayahuasca on Sunday. That's my birthday. Now watch it. See, this is why it's so critical. Love the Time poster that somebody put together. Was that one of your crew with you on the cover of Time magazine? It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I had to put that. I had it in my mind. So yeah, I put it up there because it's just about to be time up, like I said before.
Yeah, you know why I know?
I think that. Go ahead.
Here's why I know. What's happening on Sunday? Well, Sunday. Well, there's the sun. Got that one. Sevan Bomar's on, talking about time. Well, there's the tie-me up in knots, going to go fishing. Sunday is the anniversary of the signing of the Magna Carta. Magnetic, Karota, the spirit of spirit breath gratitude. You can't make this shit up, boys and girls. Phoenician exposes it. And also, look, it's my birthday. It's also, Father Day. Now, Father being feminine, Fa, the heart, Theos, God, spirit breath, R. So it's part of all creation, spirit breath itself. Father's Day on Sunday, Sevan Bomar Day on Sunday, Kate's birthday on Sunday, Magna Carta Day on Sunday, Sun on Sunday. Oh, I don't know. What do you think, Sevan?
Man, I think that we don't need none of these astrological books to tell us there's a lineup. I mean,
I know,
they have the World Cup, they have the playoffs. The Matrix is doing this thing too because it's got to get its all-time. Hey, look over here when you should be looking over there trick going on. But for those that are in tune with this, it's quite amazing what's happening. I don't even expect people to, at this point, if they're not already familiar with it, be able to adapt to how aggressive this change is going to be and how it's going to come about. They could just sit back like they always do and watch it happen. But realistically, you have to take a stance within yourself and understand, where your power is. And obviously we're all going through different levels of that. But some have just taken it all the way to the next level, such as yourself. And in my consciousness, I really realized that when you give times and you say, okay, well, this is the point in time that we should see some change. Obviously, if you're not a world changer, if you're not some kind of body or celestial magnetic body yourself that can make time move around and shift and throw waves at everything, then you may just be watching a hopeful or at best a very hopeful interpretation of yourself. But the reality is that once you really do your work in this and you get into it for what it really is, if you still have the strength left, you start to actually realize that it's you that determines when time is over. And this is why I did put that ad up for a Sunday show, is because this is what happened. Like after, 7 years ago, I went through something that, I'm still looking for people that may have been able to have gone through something like that and still not crazy. But it 100% verified the kind of power that we really have on a vivid level. And then I think at that point, when looking at the populace and looking at the world in the way it was, I really wanted everyone to enjoy that. And I set out on this mission very rapidly to spread that information, and I was thwarted right off the bat. That's how I kind of ended in Costa Rica, because I was going to go across the United States. I had this projection that we were going to tie ties across the United States, and everyone was going to have this day that they were just going to get out of the matrix. And then I was going to head to Vegas, and then I was going to do what I needed to do about Chris Angel and about that kind of magic that they're dealing with. And then it was going to be a massive awakening from there of changing the entire world. And that was my projection. And I had the energy to do it, and I had the abilities, because I had vivid abilities attached to my awakening. And I was ready. And then there was something else that was inside of me that said, but maybe you're seeing it all wrong. Because you have to always realize that you need to be absolutely sure that what you're talking about doing, that there is no other way, because this is not the kind of thing that you want to do and then later on figure out you shouldn't have done it, because there'll be no turning back. Just like there's no turning back for you, there'll be no turning back for everyone else. So I thought about it, and I said, you know what? Let me think about that. And I think at that point I came out of my body. And I have to tell people today that I only returned a week ago. And so you can imagine the individual you were dealing with before, Sevan, who holds the place for me when I'm gone. You can imagine what you're going to be dealing with now. Because the reality is once I left, where I went is I went to different worlds. I went to different planets to see if there were other systems that were working differently, and that if maybe it was just Earth, and to answer a lot of questions like, was it really an oppressive force? Was it really the people? Can one man really do it? All these questions I went to different planetary centers to find the answers to. And that is really what the resistance consists of in AstroQuest. It's a documentation of that journey until I returned, because that's why things are going to change now. Because when I started realizing as I was going through these planetary systems, be it Jupiterian or Martian or Mercurian states of consciousness, was that there was a great deal of similarities between what all of the beings in that frequency were experiencing. And that after a while, well, really till recently, I come to the full conclusion that if we don't get very innovative and be willing to do things that are beyond what we normally do every day, and I mean really doing those things, then we're not going to get any action. And then once I came into the realization of this, I started to also realize how much of a game that it wasn't. And I was past some other high-level knowledge about just the inner workings of things. And I started realizing that life is a big challenge for most people that come through this thing, and that life, if it was a game, most people lose. And in order to win this game, you have to end up being everything in it. You have to figure out how to develop the proper formula. And this is the only thing that I see that may be different between me and other individuals at times, is because I have been through situations where it was going to be either sink or swim. If you didn't know who the greater being was or whatever, you can forget it, because your life is over. And very few people are ever able to encounter those kind of scenarios in life that really challenge you to see who you really are and if you have some real power ability, or else you're done for. And so I call that the formula, and I realize that to duplicate that within everyone on the planet is foolish. Innovation, and that also is synonymous with always trying to drill people with how you see this and what you understand about it, based on your experiences, like what you know about the language, what you know about the government, what you know about the controllers, all of those different things, and then trying to fire it down this little tube called language, and then get it to individuals that are in a very, very disastrous state as far as their mental, physical, and spiritual vehicles and how those work in conjunction with another, because we have dealt with enemies in our own species, which is the only kind you can really deal with. Interspecies, or what they call white-on-white, black-on-black crime, meaning individuals from our own species have traded against us and do it all the time. Like, I'm sitting here with the old records of how it started first, like when Britain loaned Costa Rica $20,000 and then demanded back $50,000 in a time that $50,000 is like $5 million for these countries. When you see the microcosm of the debt that was caused in these smaller countries that are where U.S. is more of the blown up version of the same thing after it was perfected. But when you're looking at these systems, and also what it causes for the individuals that don't get a chance to go to school, that they'll never be able to comprehend what you're talking about in regards to this language and backwards and Black's Law and all these kind of things, because they went through real abuse. It's synonymous to rape and synonymous to not having any fertilization. So then I started realizing that this is when the great wild one awakes. Because what you're dealing with is the entities that are the states of consciousness that are choosing to behave the way that they're behaving are so numerous that the only way they will be depleted is through lack of affiliation, meaning to end affiliation with them. And the only way that can be done is if one greater, if you want to give it that term, meaning united and greater. One greater, meaning everyone together, and greater than the previous so-called united. Because we're always united. It's just about how much space we have between each other. So if we decrease this space, and then we go into this next stage of consciousness, that one greater comes. And this one greater, when you understand the craft, because there's the inner working to how the world works, geomancy and vibrations, tone, chakra, frequencies, these kind of things, the craft. When you understand how to work the craft, because people need to realize that we're on a planet. This planet is a ship. It is a craft. Those who know how to work the craft can steer the craft where they want the craft to go. And in fact, the more massive idea wins. So if we think small, I just want a community. I just want some funny-looking geometry. I just want sovereignty even. If you just think small, then there's some more massive idea that says all of that what you want is already encompassed inside of my idea, because I'm giving 3/4 of everything. And 3/4 of everything, or 33 1/3 of everything incorporates that. But there's other things that you don't know about, things that you've never been taught, things that you never would even expect belongs to you. And because you can't recall it, you can't bring it back. You don't know the name of it, so you can't phase lock it. You can't triangulate it. Then it's lost or taken from you. So then this becomes like this. Now this is what I saw in the council. You see so many drifters, all types of beings thinking they know what the hell is going on. But the only ones who really know are the ones who are tethered, the ones who are grounded and rooted within another part of their consciousness and already awake, meaning me being awake on earth served as an anchor for me to go into these different stages of consciousness while not losing myself to where I really am, meaning when you come back here, you realize our people are suffering, our children are dying, and things are going on. So let's say, for instance, you just want to say you're going to be selfish about your own little spirit. Will you not risk your spirit then to save everyone? Meaning that if there was something that, let's say, there was going to give maybe a 90% chance that it was going to change the entire planet, but maybe for you it wouldn't go too well, would you do it? And this is what I challenge people with these days, because there's some stuff that's so potent that it knocks these reptilian, gorilla, apes, whatever the hell they are, right on their ass. And what happens here is if we keep playing the word game and we don't get innovative and get into spirit tech, then we're going to lose this battle over and over again. Because this technology that you're looking at in this world right now is trash. This technology is not even technology. This stuff is built to confuse. This is why when you load in too many programs, you end up spending hours and hours troubleshooting and all this. This is not technology. But I tell you, in the worlds that work in perfection, what is called technology there is about energetics. It's about what Tesla cracked into right around the time the Titans were selling off on that ship. It was about being able to send wireless energy all around the world for free. See, because you got to realize that where these beings, Morgan, who's the father of the dead, all these kind of individuals, when you break apart their names, where they're residing is in a system of power that is real power, and it is electricity. But you notice how if you only get, let's say, 500 watts of electricity, you will fry, versus if you get 70 million watts of the electricity coming from thunder, it somehow is cohesive with your body. Okay? And this is because there is another power, a higher power, a greater power, but this power is just as vivid as electricity. It is not some just mystical, deep something that you have to comprehend after multiple lives. That's where they wanted to put it. That's how they wanted to hide it. That's what all the books and all the religions are really for, is to the moment that you would even get close to it, this book or this knowledge would throw you off completely from it, because it's just common sense. That's why a lot of the religions and a lot of the systems, pretty much all of them, don't make any sense. Everything is backwards. Let me show you. The positive sign and the negative sign. Okay? Positive is let's start with negative. Negative is one straight line. Okay? And knowledge now shows us that 1 actually incorporates a 0 also. Listen to what I'm saying. If you draw 1, and then that's on a 2-dimensional level, if you take it 3-dimension, it turns into a tube. This means that when you puff it out, it turns into a tube. And then when you look down that tube, if you look at what's around it, a 0 is what you call 0 is there. So this means 1 and 0 are actually synonymous with one another and are incorporated within each other. When you draw what you call today a 0, you actually haven't drawn a 0. You've drawn the symbol of death, which is that circular sign, just a circle, and it closes, is the symbol of death, because that's the symbol of time. See, it doesn't look like a coil, because remember, everyone that's on the 2-dimensional reality doesn't see 3-dimensional anymore. So when they're shown our real existence, which is a coil, the 2-dimensional mind sees it as a circle, thus getting them trapped in time. This is why all of the ancient cultures, they always say, oh, the Egyptians discovered the 0, the Arabs discovered the 0, the Mayans discovered the 0. And in every single documentary you listen to, you'll hear them say that this culture discovered the 0 because there's a big play going on here. And the beings that are playing it know exactly what they're doing. And what they're introducing a cycle or a circle. Then or circle, meaning the actual serpent itself, kol, meaning to take away the energy. Because once the person is in a circle or a cycle, they go psycho. And then they can't actually keep generating energy because they keep seeing the same thing over again, and that gets boring. Literally boring into you, meaning digging into you and corrupting you like a worm would corrupt an apple. So this gets deep then, because I'm not afraid to go to the levels of energy that I need to go to deal with this situation, because I know what I'm dealing with. But there's also others with me. And me and my crew, we beat up demons. We beat up malevolent forces. See, here's the problem. What happens is that we can see on TV all day, right? Somebody gets killed. Somebody gets raped. But it's all for play. This is when they do the movie. It's all for play. They then blew up 5 or 6 planets, right? But then when it's time for a person to get on the radio and say something simple, which most people take as science fiction at best anyway, something simple like, I beat up demons. Then someone else was over there like, oh my goodness, is that even a way to approach spirituality? Blah, blah, blah. You pacifist fool. Do you see what's happening here? We'll all die here eventually. Like, they will just play it all out. Us keep fighting each other. There's never any expansion into another dimension. They keep making promises. Oh, you'll get a new earth. Oh, you'll get this. You'll get this next level of consciousness. Man, that shit does not come unless you bring it. If you're the bringer, right, that's like a Shiva component, because now you got to come in and you got to destroy shit. And then so you can move all that stuff out of the way so new stuff can be built, right? What do you think a destroyer is equipped with? Look at the real indigenous symbol of a shaman. The shaman has blades and all sorts of stuff to deal with malevolent forces. And guess what? There's no duality. Why? What does that mean? How can you mean no duality? You're talking about going to war. It's because we don't feel like we're going into a war. You see, there's a difference here. Just the same thing that Kate was breaking into just a minute ago about how when you know what you're doing in your mind, you don't incorporate with all of the other products that come after that. And let me explain this. I can chop you up into a billion pieces and we'll still all be together. Why? Because on a biorhythmic level, a level of physics, a level of energetics, and then the sheer fact that we're actually in a bubble, you will only be a little bit further away from me, but we'll never be disconnected. So this whole idea of separation actually doesn't exist anyway. That's why people keep saying, separation doesn't really exist and blah, blah, blah. But they don't know how that really works. And the underpinnings is that we're all in a bubble, baby. And we're all also on a hive mind, as I keep explaining. This body puts us all in synchronization with each other from a level of harmonics. And that's why every culture has their orchestra. Okay? And let me talk to you about these tones and vibrations in your name. And then I'm going to sum it up because I just wanted to get on here and just say happy birthday. But what happens is that if you take a stethoscope and you put it to your heart, you'll hear your heart make this beat, okay? And obviously because it's one of the more denser organs, it's operating on one of the lower frequencies, you can hear it. It's like bass. It is actually playing the bass line of the orchestra that's going on in your body because you got trumpets, you got clarinets, and you have all that, and those are the tones that the organs are making. That's why they're called organs, okay? But it gets even deeper than that because it gets into about how, because this sound is coming out of us, that actually is our real name. And I've been uncovering this for people step by step, but there's more to this about that. Your name can't really be pronounced again, and at best can only be pronounced somewhat by individuals that really know you. And they don't pronounce it as a tone. They actually pronounce it by expression. That's why people who really know you know how to treat you. But here's what happens, though. Since you can't be recalled, you can't be phase locked, meaning that you can't be trapped until you're given an identity. So that's why Kate was right with saying, look, in that 15 minutes crash course to sovereignty, if you take the name, if you identify with the name, and I'm going to be talking about this more on Sunday, what happens is you actually get into the form of the eidolon. Now, this character who is a symphony is summed up in James, this small thump or rhythmic vibration of dullness, okay? And then what happens from there is the person begins to identify not only with this name, but also this eidolon or image or little phi-based shell creature in the mirror. Okay, and here's the danger with this. Because the derma or the dream or the skin or the aura of the planet is being programmed, just like our auras and our vibratory frequencies are being programmed, and this is from all different angles, what happens is that what you see in the dream is actually a concoction of what someone else is putting you into. And that's why you could put a person in your dream, they could see me in a dream, beat the shit out of me, or worship me, or have sex with me, or learn knowledge from me. How can a person do that when you haven't given them leave? It's because you are not that person. That is just the image of you. But understand, if you start identifying with this image, then this means all the individuals that actually have you in their dream scope actually do all sorts of stuff to you. And guess what? Anyone can be a witch and a warlock. How? It's because anytime a human being starts to curse, gets angry, and then starts to use the spells or the language to send that at another person on a negative level, that's all a real witch and warlock really is. Witches and warlocks are nothing complex. If they were, they wouldn't be witches and warlocks. So the reality is here is that we have to realize the spell that's going on, how to break that spell, which is really an experience. If I'm talking to you, it's a whole different thing than if I'm jumping out of the plane with you. Same thing as if I'm talking to you, if you're talking to yourself, you're reading things, it's totally different than you. If you got a passport or something, man, get out. Go somewhere and let the universe take you because it'll take care of you from there. It'll show you, it'll turn you on to its current. Why? What Tesla discovered. Earth was a conductor. So Earth conducts the orchestra. So there's this big thing going on here then. And what I'm saying is that I feel personally responsible for bringing this awakening to the planet. That's just, I think, all the attitude that all of us that are doing this really have to adapt if we plan on staying alive. Except I've been sitting here for 7 years, almost nonstop, not only gliding through different planets, but also using my body to just simply harvest all of the data that I can get my hands on in relation to what exactly is going on Earth. And what has actually been accomplished then is annuals, and I'm putting this stuff together now, so much data, but put into a system that simplifies how the data can be accessed. The data is video, audio, and textual. And what we are going to launch is open source spirituality. It does not rely on not one single person to decide whether it's going to happen or not. And that's power. The power really becomes, again, when you can generate your own energy. So remember, whatever floats your boat, whatever gets you going, you need to start pursuing that. Like whatever makes you happy, you have to flood your environment with that now in order to build up enough energy to begin to pull your projections from over the bridge. And, this is a big thing. There's a lot of data to deliver. Like I'm just giving like a condensed version of what I have to talk about because I'm really, like I said, I'm going to go into rare form because here's what happened to me. I was challenging myself personally to see where my numbers were. This was right before I returned. I said, if you're only getting to 5,000, 6,000 people, you got to calculate how fast it's going to take for enlightenment to come. And we need 2 million, we need 3 million, we need those kind of views. This is what we need from you. And I said, well, the interesting part is that I can actually get those kind of views because all I have to do is turn the same beam that I'm using to penetrate spirituality towards any other thing that I want to accomplish, and I'm going to fire through it until I accomplish it. We want to get on Wire Magazine and shoot an article that's going to end up going to 2-3 million people because they got that kind of base. I can do that. So I started turning my ship around, started getting ready to head back to where everyone else was. And I got one of the crew members giving me some really good advice. And that crew member said, wait a minute. You got to really be careful with, one, who you affiliate with. This is like wanting this so bad that you start joining with organizations that are even with United Nations and other people who haven't been transparent yet. Wanting it so bad that you're willing to go back to where everyone else is still stuck and be stuck with them in order to say that we're all together. Wanting it so bad that you can't even see that if there's millions of people delivering stupid shit on YouTube with somebody jumping off a cliff with the penis out for 1 billion views while someone gives the entire code to the Matrix and gets 6 looks and 4 dislikes, then you already know what you're dealing with around you. You see what I mean? So what happens is that we need people that are going to bring the knowledge so potent that it can spread, like if we're using Jesus today, like loaves of feeding the 5,000 and 10,000, meaning that when it comes from your mouth, only the most deeply entwined in it as far as being able to understand what's going on with the code can crack it. And then once they crack it, they in turn distribute it in less potency to the next individual, but it still remains potent. And it goes down and down and down the ladder until we eventually reach the bottom of the netherworld. And that's how the knowledge will be from us and will remain from us as a faction. We will not be dumbing down our knowledge in order to get more people to understand what's going on. We're going to hold with the mission because we know that it only takes, at best, a few hundred of us, maybe even 10 of us, because it's in the state of mind, and then it just spreads like wildfire. And I got a chance to see that personally. So as I said before, that's why I've always remained an optimist, because there was an individual in the room with me that day, and their life was diametrically opposed to even my state of consciousness then. So what I'm saying is rather negative. And that when they touched me and when I went into this higher vibration, it changed their life. That person became a father. That person became a husband to his wife. That person started staying home and playing with the kids and developing things. So this energy that we're talking about, it doesn't take you to be in these schools for 20 years and sitting down on a porch meditating somewhere in nihilism. That's the game, okay? And I'll tell everyone the truth. Like, what has happened to us is quite massive. Like, it blows my mind sometimes. But in reality, it actually puts us in perspective to be the best beings that one could ever really be, because this kind of challenge does produce something very, very rare. And so that's what the ones that will be graduating and expanding beyond what's going on Earth, the dirt, okay, because that's where Earth is, the ones who take themselves through the alchemical transmutation to become gold, which is synonymous with the soul because it never changes frequency, then that person will have completed the great arcana, or being able to actually navigate the ark. And, of course, all the arks got the animals inside 2 by 2. What are they talking about? They're not talking about a boat. They're talking about archonic worlds that have dualistic beings in there that are half and half, and they're in there just battling with each other, and in the water is going and rising. And you see, those are all metaphors for a spiritual condition that we are actually in. But I'm personally going to end the game when it comes to disclosures of conspiracies and spiritual knowledge with open source spirituality. And then where we're going to move into from there is the day after ascension, which I often talk about, meaning right now we're on this other side of the fence, so we have to talk and speak in ways in which whatever we perceive to get ready to occur is going to occur. And then we talk about this trouble and this heads up that we're going to have and all that, right? But then what about the day after? Because I get all those kind of stories, but surely there's going to come something after for an individual that does not perish, the individual that is made of smokeless fire. Surely there's going to be a time after all this, and that's the day after ascension. And that's what we're going to be responsible for bringing to this world. And so that's all I really have to say. Of course, I'm available for questions if anyone has any. I will let everyone know that, again, this returning process of myself, I'm just really seeding into the old skin suit and getting ready to look at what I have and do what I can do on this next level that I'm going to bring out of this data. And what I've done personally is I've been able to look into all of this. Like, I know there's probably individuals out there like me, but they don't use internet. Like, they don't, like, if you really think about it, to go on a spiritual path and start uncovering all this data, in the past, before even the internet and all these kind of things, you had books, and you're probably older by now. You're probably maybe 65, 70 at least, right? So this whole idea, especially when you have a great deal of spiritual knowledge, of jumping on the computer, opening up a Weebly site, opening up your Facebook, that kind of stuff doesn't even, it's like jumping back into the fire. So people need to realize that it is that formula that does have individuals such as Kate, myself, and many others bringing this information in these aggressive ways, because that's another thing that we see happening. I'm sure I'm not talking about anything really new to what everyone's been feeling, especially this week. Like, okay, look, I'm going to go ahead and pull it all out. Like, I got real equipment. Like, I got real spiritual technology. Yeah.
Sevan, people are well aware that I am, as Mary likes to call me, a spiritual bully. And it's only because the love is unconditional, and I'll do whatever it takes to wake up your sorry ass if you want to awaken.
Right, that's the father role. That's why this is the whole Magna Carta. I call it MAPA, because really mothers have been playing the father role for quite a bit of time now, and that's always been the case. And so what happens is that it's that this week is going to be challenging a lot of those individuals to see if they're going to level up into the father role of themselves, and this is male and female. It's going to challenge them to see, will they join and stand with their brothers and sisters? Like, I was listening to the show about an hour earlier before I called in, and I was listening to all the situations about Mike and different things like that, and I just was present. And man, I got another friend that he helped a lot of individuals in getting their expansion, and he's dying right now. So I'm looking at all these people around me, and I'm like, I'm going to end time. Because if I keep letting time go on, I'm going to keep seeing my people perish. I'm going to live on because I already know how to live once the body kicks off. But the reality is what's going to happen with all of us, because that's what's more important to me. If you solve yourself, now you should go on to bigger problems, basically. That's how you get stronger. You lift more weight. It's not cowering away from it and saying, oh, because I'm straight or because people like me or because whatever, that I'm going to stop saying it because I got to protect my career and I can't make this move. Because, and that's the whole game. They try to fluff you up because we're really fire, baby. And what happens is the moment that you start getting on point, they try to throw you into some water and soak you down and get steam out of you, get the mist out of you, or the mysticism or the midpoint of everything. Notice how all real fixed elements are clear. Like fire is clear, water is clear, but steam is foggy. Smoke is foggy. And this lets us know that there's a midpoint, and that's why they call it mysticism. There's a midpoint to they're saying, yes, but really no. You're God, but not really. You're supreme, but not right now. So that whole in-between area is time. And that's why I see the power of this straight line of breaking a circle. Like, you need straight lines to break circles. That's what that's all about. It's like if you find yourself in a dimension, because there's another thing you need to know about these beings because of how they're seeing this, which is like a gigantic scope. They know how to go to a world right when the time that what is like the oversoul of the world goes into its netherworld state of consciousness. And this is very easy to understand, okay? This is just like you go to sleep every day, right? So imagine how big the Earth is, right, in proportion to you. And then imagine that the Earth has this half sleep cycle, half awake cycle, okay? And because the world is the oversoul, meaning the next adjacent largest entity, it has this sleep cycle that it goes through because it's like a sun too. And when it goes into its sleep cycle, it appears like a planet, and all types of organisms start growing on it. This is why most fungus and things like that grow on the surface of the skin. But then once this actual entity wakes up through vibration, it would only be synonymous with heat to us. Like it starts getting very hot, then it starts getting very energetic, and then hello, we're in a whole nother dimension, and everything like plastic and everything that's moving at a slow vibratory frequency actually dissipates. So in the off cycles of the planet, then you got Time Lords that watch planets for their off cycles. And then once the off cycle happens, though there's no oversoul on the planet, that's when they show up. And then they start the games. And then the games is they drop a big prism first into the ground. And this is why Thoth was credited with building the pyramid, because Thoth is actually synonymous with the entity that we've continuously dealt with coming into planets, making prisms or prisons by using the color spectrum and the tones of vibrations in order to separate the reality into frequencies. And then when the frequencies emanate certain colors, the colors determine the skin color of the individual that's emanating that frequency. Thus, there becomes a hard coding on the person's actual frequency to where when they interact with other frequencies, people interact with them based on the frequency. Where basically they interact with you. If you're a Mexican, a black person, a white person, going to get a different response from the individuals that they go to until they drop those barriers, until they drop those prisms, right? The big race, to show you that it's a game. Racism, to show you that it's a game, okay? And so when they drop the games in, as you know, everyone, there's like billions of people right now watching one of those games based on trapping humans inside of carbon-based structures, which is what a soccer ball is, or a C60 carbon-based buckyball. When you got that kind of situation going on, then these are predators, okay? So then when you get predators on a dimension, that's when you don't seem to notice it until you get kids. And that's what this whole thing about having an attitude is about. Because the attitude is what's necessary to get rid of predators, because you start realizing, well, shit, I'm not going to be able to talk to them. After all, they don't even speak my language. I don't even know how they're doing what they're doing, so I can't even phase lock onto that frequency. I can't even get on that level with them. So what do? Shit, future tech. What did everyone else do? What did Rice say to do? What did Tesla say to do? If you don't know, ask them. The reason why I'm aggressive is because, look, ask them. Do you think they're dead? Great mind, everything's great. Once a light, always a light. Bright. Resplendent. A star in the sky. So this is also where we set goals now. We should set goals. You should be the bright star in the sky.
Hey,
like
Sevan,
when people look at your light, they should be feeling your shine.
Sevan,
that's right.
Sevan, I'm just going to jump in here. Just let people know. I guess we're going to roll over. It wasn't my intent. But first thing I'm going to ask of you, Sevan, if you can, I would love for you to join Paul tomorrow night. I won't be at the table because he is going to be talking Kabbalah, and you guys both speak fluent each other. And I would love for you, if you could, as a preemptive for your Sunday show, join Paul and just let rip tomorrow night, if you could.
Well, I also have a show on Saturday. What time tomorrow does he got?
Same time, 7 p.m. It's 7 p.m. Eastern every night. So whatever time.
Well, somebody had hit me up on Facebook, so if you guys can remember, because I'm pretty much inundated, but I'm definitely going to do my best to remember to come on and tune in, just like I did today. But obviously, I don't think I collected everyone's information because
brother,
it's all good. Now, hang on. I got to do a shout out. We're good. I need people to know. Well, we're already full anyway. But if anybody can get in, you can call at 661 467-2401 or BTR listener 058. Put that in your Skype contacts. The likelihood of you getting in now is looking like zero. We're at our max 50 callers, and this is what it's been like every night for I don't know how long, so I'm greatly appreciative of that. But it's a great big thank you to Paul Giovanni and the crew at Critical Mass Radio. Do not forget that the show is always available on archive, so if you're not in on the recorded version by being on the board, don't worry. The longest it can go is an hour, so an hour and 5 minutes from the rollover, you can download and catch the last hour for yourself to hear continuation. But I was going to say, I'll pass you Paul's contact on Skype, Sevan, and if you can, he can remind you. He'll be hosting the board tomorrow night, and I'm trying to make things a bit more wide open. Fridays are being more in esoteric spirituals, getting Paul, myself, you, and others that can speak on that side of it from a more literal, Kabbalistic, or Hermetic, because they're both. You got to bring them both together to get this game. But anyway,
for sure. Night, and then, not to mention, you want to get people equipped because that's what we're dealing with. Like, we're spiritual beings, so we're not dealing with a physical war before we're dealing with a spiritual war. I mean, that's the only thing I can really advise people is that we didn't wage war on these beings, but that doesn't mean that we're punks. Meaning that if you really think about it, I'll tell you, and I just want to say this and I'm done because I do have to go, but I'll tell you a secret. What happened is that there's a code talking about that Isis had gotten Ra's name. And then from that, she created a world. Now, Isis is an androgynous being. She's very similar to Lucifer, but she's also very similar to all the divine feminine forces. But what's important to realize is that there was a certain projection when creating that world, and that projection was a heart. That's why Venus, Isis, and all the rest of the synonymous creatures actually go under the symbol of a heart, okay? And at that point, that means that every being that was born in that hive has heart, okay? And there's two sides to your heart. There's to love, which seems like everyone's familiar with. There's another one to have courage, okay? And that comes from the heart. And so what's happening is we're losing, or we lost our courage. And still, even beyond that, we're not just hearts. That's the other thing. Like, we have an entire celestial body inside of us, meaning that we have different centers that are different than our heart. We don't just have a heart in our body. So remember that, though, that the hard code program on the plane is for you to just love, and get abused because you're turned in primarily to the heart because of the being that manifested this world, which is kind of clear, Mary from the sea. So just realize.
That's the lamb and the lion, Sevan.
Yeah, baby. That's it.
You bring the lion and the lamb together, and let me bounce this off you. I know you haven't got a lot of time. Okay. I know there are others that want to ask you some questions, so I'll bring them in after this. But the lion and the lamb is the correlation of the love, the compassion, and the courage. And they have been separated. And humanity has been abused due to our overindulgence in compassionate. Oh, they'd never do that because you wouldn't. Oh, they would never go. Oh,
and it happens all the time, man. Like, man, I can't tell you enough, man. There's a massive plot on the wind, man, and it's just because people want this so bad, this awakening that comes from within, that if they still don't get that it comes from within because they haven't been motivated enough, then the ones that go from without, and they've always been doing the same thing, come over here, this is the better thing, and we're all going to live over here. But the real problem hasn't been addressed, and that's what we need to be doing, right? Like, just addressing the real problem. Like, I'm not going to go and lay down when it's time to stand up.
Oh, exactly, and that's the point where, have you had enough yet? Have you had enough having your heart shit on from great heights by those?
And you'll be nice. It'll be nice. You can lay down. You can relax. Shit, I can't relax. I'm tapped into earth. Like, every time one of these people die here, I feel something. I can't relax until it's all rectified.
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
Man, what are we waiting for? Stop supposing, all of us.
Yeah. Sevan, when you were talking about the smokeless fire beings, are you referring to the jinn?
I'm talking about the stage of the spirit that is very close to when it turns into a soul. Because if you understand it, I'm not sure if we're crossing over here on the other line, but if you understand it, basically all of it is relative to us. And what it's relative to is the different stages of the shell or different stages of the spirit or the excrement. The excrement is basically what your body is discarding every time it's going closer and closer to becoming a soul again. So the smokeless part of yourself, which is not afraid, it's not afraid of fire. And that's why it's a big metaphor what you're looking at. You're not dealing with actual humans from that perspective. It's really more of the statement of one being saying that, why should I bow down and worship something? I'm made of smokeless fire. Meaning, why should I be bowing down and worshiping when I'm not in fear? Because the only way you bow down is when you're in fear. Like, if I'm going to approach you, I need to approach you head on, right? I need to look you eye to eye because that's the respect. But if I bow my head down, now I've already lost respect. Do you see what I mean? So it's about taking these deeper metaphors and realizing that most of the time the character is that's the devil will somehow be synonymous with you, because they always want to debase you and make you feel like you're the worst lowly creature. And so this is why a lot of the terminology and things that are used, it's all there. And I can take people all the way through it, and I will, because I've read those books. And I've been involved very deeply from the sense of introspection, meaning that you want to graduate your spiritual being, so you're even taking some of this stuff to heart. Maybe I am a wretch. Maybe I am. And then you live like that for a while and to see what it really gets you. And there's pros and cons to everything. And this is what I tell people, don't always look for just complete negativity as a signal that it's not good. Sometimes there's lots of things that seem to be very beneficial, but when you look in the core of it, like, what is the core of this about? It's about being chosen. And then if it's about being chosen, then it's about division, because that's the only way you can really choose. And so that means that you're dealing with Dios, as they said. That's the Latin word for God, Deus. You're dealing with the divided God. And so this is where, and then you eat it. And that's why we talk about the number 8. Instead of seeing it as some malevolent force in the sky, you see it as something that you are. And that's why you're built in two halves, right? Going in conflict with yourself, fighting and warring yourself, the good side versus the bad side. So eating it is like not letting it run off too far where it becomes some creature out in another area, because that also becomes alive. And that's, really also what we're dealing with in this world now, is that because of this knowledge of us being creators, we don't just create physical beings, especially men. We have inceptions. And when we incept, we can push power into something and create something on the astral plane that will later on live in the physical world. And so that's where you get collective groups. You get societies that push all their power and energy into specific tones, vibrations, symbols, etc., in order to basically animate something that they can control. Yeah. And that's the
children of
level.
Eshtaf Zenanum, me.
Mm-hmm.
The children of Eshtaf Zenanum.
What he said.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is that when you look into Wikipedia, when you look into eBay, and this is the secret to mysticism to show you that it's trash. That's why when real rabbis, when real Rab Mags, the chiefs of the rabbis come forth with the knowledge, it's going to be like lack of affiliation from these factions that have been desecrating the knowledge. Because what they do is they create these things out of the symbols and the concentrations that come about through talismanic magic, meaning that we can, when focusing a lot of our energy into anything, concentrate and magnetize that. We cultivate our energy and then put it into something. And then if that's done, then it's alive. Like whatever it is, the idea behind that is that it represents, it becomes alive within that object. So what you get on eBay is you get these people that are selling these objects for $40,000 or $50,000. These basically what you would think is a demon, because they only bring things under control. But then the person never realizes that the book that they was only one of 10, and that they were like number 50. And then when they got it, they were already in control by the being that had already been controlling the book initially. And this is how magic works. It constantly enslaves the individuals that get involved with it in like a chain of command. You see? So people need to realize that this old craft is sorcery. It's defunct. It's retarded.
So you're saying, Sevan, if I'm wearing a talisman, that I'm using the talisman. So, Sevan, if you're saying I'm wearing a talisman, for example, are you saying that by me wearing this talisman and being present around people, that I'm actually enchanting them and causing them to do things against their will? Because if I'm not showing the talisman,
if the talisman is not a talisman that you created and comes from a specific system, like let's say the Golden Dawn system, and these are like the raggediest talismans. I already told you those books are readily available on Google. You can download it, and the talismans there, those are trash. We're talking about the talismans that are like $50,000 or $60,000 put together by sorcerers who, just like Ayurvedic doctors, know how to send their essence into what they're creating. See, we're not talking about something that's so foreign. Like, there's other men who do this in another part of their craft, and their craft is healing. That's an Ayurvedic doctor. The last part of the prescribing the remedy is to endow it with your essence. Okay? So it's the same thing with these talismans. Because these sorcerers are in this dark demented state of mind, they can consecrate an object or an imprint with that same kind of dementia, and then use the right type of tones and vibrations that correspond to the entities that are on that wavelength. And then when the person comes and buys it, they become put under control by that. And then it grants them a certain part of power, mainly certain kind of favors, some good luck. And then what that does in turn is attract others to utilizing it. Like, oh, well, yeah, ever since I got this talisman, things have been going well. Which one? Oh, this one. Oh, here, you could take it. You see what I mean? So that is what you're dealing with the craft. But like I said, it gets really far out there with this kind of stuff, and it's just a shame that we're not using this stuff for our creativity. The other thing is, I'm not here to play the good bad game, because for me, if I understand when someone has done that, now I know what not to do. I know what the results of doing that is. And then I'm also going to see if somehow I can bring those individuals out of that, because I understand when you're on a planet like this, desperation, the more you start getting awake, you start thinking you need to get out of here, right? Like I say, always want to go, but you never want to stay. But when you're wearing full armor, and that's what I was saying, there's another level to this. And that's why I have these charts that I pulled myself, and it was explaining how basically once you get rats, you get cats. Once you get cats, you get dogs. But it was explaining that from a level of elements. That once you get a bow and arrow, once you get pottery, once you get, you automatically go to what comes next. And because we build a Hedron Collider, this means we go into energy next. And energy weapons take the first stage, meaning that what happens is humans discover that they can charge themselves from basically something like static electricity, but pull from the earth through prana. Okay? This jumps off the human vehicle exponentially. You start having anomalies, right? And then obviously any kind of restrictive structure that can't hold that frequency starts to crumble. Then it's a race from that point to create a world that when this one gives birth to everyone that's in it, because the energy is going to be too massive, that there is yet a greater world, one that has more expansion, that those beings can feel like that they're children again in that world, that there's something to learn, there's something to experience. Those are the ones that don't get the massive awakening. You see what I mean? Because it sounds funny to everyone else to open up the vacuum right now and then let everyone out until you realize what's out there. Okay? Because the same serpent that everyone is so afraid of is also the same thing that is protecting beings from trying to get in here. And let me explain to you how this works from a very symbolic level. Okay? Now, the serpent is a sheath. Okay? It's known to be the skin. That's why sometimes it became synonymous with woman, because man goes inside of woman, okay? So the serpent is something you go inside of, and then it envelops you. This was the same synonymous with the womb, okay? And then once you're inside of it, now what's on the outside of the serpent is what we call scales, okay? A shiny hide. What this would look like from a distance as a planet, it would look like a sun. It would be like a shiny thing. And nothing could really fly into it because the shiny scales of it, even if it was just reflecting light off of another sun, would be too much to approach, because that's what creates heat. So what happens is then you get these beings that are inside of it, and they're enveloped in it, multiple atmospheres, okay? And then they're being protected from what? What's outside. Now let me explain to you what is outside. Your skin, because you can find what I'm telling you on multiple levels. Your skin is that serpent. Okay, this is what we were uncovering the last Sunday before the show was cut off. We started doing the etymology behind the word skin and where it really comes from, and it was synonymous with the serpent. And this is because this outside shell of our body is protecting the inside. Why? If I rip your skin off, how fast are you going to get an infection? Fast. Do you know when surgeons are doing surgery, the thing that they're afraid of the most is they leave the body open for too long, seconds too long, it catches infection. So it shows you that the real outside world has all sorts of stuff going on that we ain't even learned how to deal with yet. We haven't learned yet how to be that shining being that when you go out there, it's not just going to try to penetrate you. Okay? And this is another
Sevan,
thing you got to think about, because...
Sevan, just want to jump in on skin. I can prove it phonetically for you.
For sure.
S, divine feminine, serpent, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And kin means knowledge, to know.
Exactly.
Kin, ken, can, ka, en, the spirit infinitely mine. So there you go.
Exactly.
Skin is.
And then there was even like I have a Kabbalistic listing here also, and it takes it back through several languages, showing that it is also synonymous, by the way, with the aura. And this is why you get the rainbow serpent, because what the rainbow serpent really is the atmosphere.
Sadi, brother. Sadi means a righteous warrior, and that's where you get the sword and the stone, your kundalini. Yeah, that's where you get that from.
This is Paul, by the way, that's hosting the table tomorrow night, so you can have a quick chat now and see what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a
power. I mean, let me on the board.
You know me, I'm available.
Yeah.
Let me on the table.
Okay, someone needs on the board. Jump in here, Sevan, because I know people want to ask you questions before you bolt.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually I'm available. Like, if someone has a question,
thank you.
I have no problem with answering questions.
Go ahead.
Sevan, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't me. It's like I'm just a conduit at this point. Like I've got rid of. This thing gets so deep.
Yeah.
And I can't even explain. Well, I'm going to have to explain to people, but it's because like we are all connected to something very massive. And the ones that really do come in an awakening of that a little bit sooner, it means that they're connected to something even more massive. It's still like in their name, but you have to be willing to give that up. Like that's what this whole thing is about. Just like Kate was saying, it's like when you think that you've gained something, and then that really is the currency that you need to buy, per se, the next thing. And then you have to make that decision. Am I going to stay where I am, or am I going to invest in this next level of myself? And so this is the big thing, because before my previous lives, I spent as being on this earth in a high level of consciousness. But I have to
man, you should take a little look at the Hebrew letters, Sevan. Yeah, it's an old form, but that's the form, the prism, as you were saying earlier, as Tipperet, beauty shines. You know that would be the sun, Kabbalistically. So what you were saying, yeah, take a look at the Hebrew letters. These are extremely magical letters. Extremely magical.
For sure. I mean, it's a flame language. You know,
it's the language of
fire in the hands of children. Like if one has seen what it does, like there's hospitals full of people in Jerusalem to what happens when a person that doesn't have the proper insulation tries to bring forth entities from the sphere. But I'm going to let the lady, she did have a question. I did kind of cut her off, ma'am, but go ahead. Excuse me.
No, it's okay. I didn't have a question. Actually, can I friend you?
Oh, for sure. Like I'm on Facebook as Sevan. I forgot what I was on there. Sevan Bomar. That's Bomaer. And yeah, I'll definitely accept your friend's request. But just to understand, no problem. See where this is going to go, and this is where I challenge everyone. Like there's a big challenge going on. Like we're running the gauntlet. I'm not sure what everyone else is doing, but the old system is done. Some people are all still clinging to it, not realizing where it came from, not realizing who Pythagoras really was, not really realizing who Apollonius of Tyana really was, who was Socrates really. Like, who were these individuals? Who is Jesus really? Who is Charlemagne? Who is Solomon? Who is Moses? And then when you realize who these
Apollonius
really are.
And Apollonius would be referring to Abaddon. That would be Hebrew word for death. So that's what that would be referring to. So you need to look back at the old language, because this is where the Aleph and the Bet,
what we're still dealing with is the knowledge of the spheres of division. How which one divides the world. There was never any idea with Kabbalism, which is a cable, which is a language, but there was never any idea with Kabbalism to be something that was going to be beneficial to human beings.
Tight hold of it. They've kind of kept a tight hold of it until Arya Kaplan, he released a lot of stuff, and he was a lot of people didn't like that in his Jewish quarters because he was revealing the truth, especially when you go reading the Bahia.
I'm having this a little time.
So no matter where you are in the world,
guys, Paul, one sec, Sevan. There is a time lag between you. Sevan is in Costa Rica. Paul, you're in Scotland. This is coming through the California, area where Blog Talk is. So Just remember that you'll be talking over each other if you don't allow for the lag. It's about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, basically, I mean, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that, see, when you can create a world, it's not a problem for you to leave a more defunct system. When you can't create a world, then you find yourself only clinging to the world that you have access to.
Are you talking about this in a four-dimensional?
I'm talking about all the Kabbalahs and their real use. Because I think that what happens is that to understand the definition of Kabbalistic terms like Sefer Sapphire, like no one's going to go beyond that. Okay, like if the people who wrote Sefer Sapphire, it's 1 to, and I'm sure you may have read this work, but it's about 1 to 999 of what all the words really mean. Okay, and no one will get behind that knowledge. But if you watch those people's lives, and then you ask yourself, is that it?
Nah,
is that what's going to change everything? Is that what's going to change the reality? And then if it's not, then we are challenged as men to go and find what will. Because we don't have time to be playing around with systems that only have limited benefit because the individuals that are practicing them don't really understand them. Because the only thing Kabbalah really is once you do get a word, then you must recite that word until that word becomes you. And then at that point you understand Kabbalah because now you're going to be dealing with the entity. And then from that level, that's why Masonry and all these different systems are about codes. They're about words. And those words correspond to entities around the flame of a specific sphere, specific kind of beings. But most people haven't even gotten that far. They're still fascinated with the data of what it means, not what really is behind it, like where's the power in it. And that's with everyone, all of us, I would challenge you, whatever you're involved in, if you're not seeing the vivid power that is attached to it, then it can't lead to truth, because truth
when you read other books such as the Bahia, you know, that explains quite a bit. As I say, you've just gone with one version with the Zohar, and the Zohar is just more a biblical explanation. You know, you need to look deeper into what it says in the Sefer Yetzirah. You know, that's the most magical book in the world, Sevan, and I've never ever heard you speak about it.
I mean, but that would. I mean, you know? It's because I don't see it that way. I see humans as a book, and I see the Sefer Yetzirah as a plagiarization from the Commitments and taken by. I don't know who these people actually think that they are. They don't even have an identity anymore. Taking other people's knowledge, like the Nubians, this stuff comes from another culture, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and those came from another planet. Those people from Scotland. Those people were from Jupiter. Okay, these people weren't even from Scotland. These people weren't even from the planet Earth. And here's another thing that what I want to tell you, Kate. Do you know that what's happening to Earth is that this age-old war between black man and white man in their Kabbalah has been brought to Earth? But neither one of these beings are indigenous to Earth. They're not the original people on the Earth. Scottish or Nubians are not the original people on the Earth because they don't have the hair of Earth. The hair of Earth is like Diana, okay? And the children of Diana are the people who were in the Indus Valley that are more numerous than anyone on this planet. They make up what we call Chinese. They make up what we call Hindus, Indians. They make up what we call Aztecs. They make up what Mayans, Costa Ricans. They all have a specific kind of hair, and those were the original people here. Now, who we are, meaning the ones with the 7 ether hair, 8 ether hair, blonde hair, blue eyes, pinky hair, coil hair, are all being from Orion in the Cadman template, which is a hexagram and a pentagram, on the planet again to war and see who's going to take the most booty. Okay, so and all the systems are about the crap. Who knows? It's like Harry Potter. Who knows the Kabbalistic terms fast enough to thwart the different entities that they've gone into conflict with? Well, what I'm saying is that it's over. It's over. The more you introduce people into the confusion, into the tree, then you see people were on the tree and they didn't realize the serpent was on the tree. Right? And the serpent zigzags up the tree. It doesn't go a straight line. So this means all this knowledge is really just a long spending time of trying to tell you something that's very direct. You either build or destroy. You either ascend or descend. You're either in confusion or you're in balance. So those are the challenges that we have to get back to ourselves and say, okay, where am I at? Because and that's what I'm saying, you got to get some kids or something, man, because if your kids are there, then you have no choice but to wake up and say, well, shit, I don't care what these books say. I don't care how much knowledge is in them. If they can't do anything vivid for dealing with the situation that we're dealing with on our planet, it must come from the people who are causing the problems. And not be afraid to say that, not be afraid to let it go for something else that's greater, mainly nothing. The zone, the zen, the natural potential that we all have to do what we need to do without drawing something on the ground, memorizing something, reciting something, worshiping something, burning something, rolling around on something, smearing something, putting something on the body. You see, all those are externalized gestures, and that's why it is Attack of the Clones, because there are more people who are more closer to being mineralized, meaning more closer to being in touch and in tune with the planet, feel this. They feel that, shoot, I'm all that there really is, and anything else is really secondary. It's just a creation or an illusion. And then, like I said, we can get in here. We're great storytellers, meaning that you have to realize that the same people that are introducing the knowledge to you right now, the gentleman that was most instrumental for that wrote 2,000 science fiction books in 1 year. These are the people that make up Scientology, make up all of these different religions, but that's now. Before, they were the first ones that were bringing out this. It was really science fiction to them. They thought that they just wanted to make money off of it. It was a hypothetical story, and it went wild. Meaning all of what you're seeing today as the New Age movement and New Age knowledge and what it's capable of doing is all founded on fallacy, because it didn't have anything to do with the benefit to people. It had to do with the benefit of self. And that's why when you look in any books, it always say how to make a person fall in love, how to get wealth, how to do this, how to do that. And it's all about self-gain, self-gain. So it's very simple to see, but what they do is they like to put embroidery around it. They like to put strange symbols around it. They like to put complex meanings around it. And that's the mysticism, because then it shrouds it for what it really is, division. I don't need one symbol or different words to be able to use. I don't have time for that. I need one word then. I need no words. And you can't be afraid to ask for that, because that's your lot, meaning that if you want to collapse the confusion of Babel, which is all the Kabbalistic languages, then you got to go right to the top of the ladder and challenge the being who dropped the language. Notice how if Kabbalah is a language, who bought the language? The Tetragrammaton. So, I mean, after all, the Tetragrammaton is the height of all the Kabbalistic pettiness. Why is someone going so far down the string of line of communication when you can go right to the top of the communication and then see exactly what is there? And then once you see what's there, my friend, and I get the feeling that maybe you haven't, once you've seen what's there, then you'll realize that it's terrible.
Sevan, I've spoken to you a couple of times on Facebook, mate, and you know, I know what I'm speaking about. You were talking to me about a 5-dimensional hypercube, and I explained it to you how it worked in a Kabbalistic sense. And you kind of blanked at me, and you know it's...
Well, Paul, you know what, Paul, just a second.
I'm just seeing the same stuff.
Enough, I'll mute your mic.
Well, mute it then.
Hang on, Paul, just a sec. You got a whole night tomorrow night. You can explain whatever you need to. Paul, please, because all I'm getting is constant jabs to try to be right over something wrong. I need everyone to get that and pull it apart, because the truth is in everything if you have the eyes to see it, but you've got to get anagogic on this shit.
I'm thinking I've read this, and you people haven't read this.
Well, good, Paul, that's what you have to show tomorrow night.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I keep on getting
guess what, Paul? So like, I'm going to ask you to shush for a second.
You know what I'm saying?
Paul, Paul, all I'm saying... What I'm saying here is this. If I go to Gaza and I'm trying to teach someone about higher levels of spirituality, so-called higher levels of spirituality, I'm going to find a very big problem if I'm trying to communicate to them something so complex, when really it's not so complex. This is, of course, later on, you figure out, well, shit, this stuff is not so complex about what you really need to be doing. It actually has more to do with you. It has less to do with reading and more to do with sitting in with yourself and doing the breathing technique, eating the right thing, making your water, soaking sprouts, going into a place that you can cultivate, okay? Because cultivation of knowledge can't take place in an apartment city building, okay, or apartment city. It has to take place at the same place that a plant cultivates. A plant cultivates based on the minerals in the soil. So the same thing that's coming from the sole of your feet, which is your roots, when it's going down in the area that you're in, that's going to be the soil that you're in. So cultivation is about finding places that have this kind of energy that when you go there and you sit down, that you're able to tap into the planet and see gnosis. Like basically what the ones who wrote the books weren't able to see. And then what I'm saying you is when I went different ways. Remember, I've experienced all of what you're talking about because I needed to know. But the reality was I realized that there was a big thing about confusion in these beings. That if you really want the energy to really be able to do something, you're going to need to understand how to harmonize with the planet as a conductor. And then you can charge up large amounts of energy, and you're not even really limited to what this particular thing is going to do and how long you're going to have to be in the meditation to do it. And you see, that doesn't even apply. And so all I'm saying here is that I don't doubt that those systems are proficient in their own ways. I'm just saying that it's not open source. It's not something that everyone can apply themselves to. And what I'm looking for is to do something for massive amounts of people, or at least you get it. And that's the other thing. Like I have personally decided, because I do understand a lot about these different systems, to go in myself and extract what is necessary to become what I need to be to do something about the situation, rather than even trying to elaborate on the long process of the knowledge to an individual who doesn't really even have time for that. So to me, it's like when being really serious about it, I got to choose the time to talk about things that may take, years for a person to understand personally, or the stuff that's going to get them some assistance right now. And then right now, like I said, because time is up, and because I'm not playing around with the forces on the dimension that many people are yet to be aware of, that are weaving webs in all different kind of ways, especially with their doctrines, that these people are poets, they love paper, they cut paper, they make money, that they're alchemists, that they turn dirt into gold. That's why they created money, because they can buy now with this paper, dead paper, gold with it, which is real alchemy for them. And I realize that the knowledge and the systems have all been corrupted because someone has taken it upon themselves to add something to it and to take something away from it. And once that happens, then it's corrupt. And the reason why that they've been doing that is to keep the knowledge of who you really are out of your hands. That's why the books are so long. Like people in the ancient times don't have time to be carrying around no large books. As a Time Lord, you don't have time to be carrying around anything. You need a superfluous body. You need that kind of thing. And we can't be afraid to demand that, because that's what we'll get. If we still take these crumbs, scraps from the master's table, things that are confusing, that we can't even realize what they're really saying, because it doesn't become vivid. And if you remember, I will say this only, the name did not come back void. This means that all other names really come back void. People say things and they craft things, and then they don't even really work beyond their own intention. But what happens is there is a real level of power that we have that is the ineffable name, okay? Remember the ineffable name, the name that can't be pronounced? It's not so that it cannot be pronounced because people don't know it. Meaning that they don't know it because it's not written somewhere. It can't be pronounced because you can't even form your mouth to pronounce it. This would be like you trying to form your mouth to play an orchestra. You can't play every single harmonic, right? So that is the ineffable name. That is the name of power, and that's you, Amen. The hidden one for the uninitiated, but the actual being itself of creation for the initiated. Who is the being of creation? Yourself. Okay, so what Kabbalah teaches is the shadow. That's why Sadi or Shaddai is a shadow, a shade, excrement, meaning dookie. Dookie to an oversoul. Because every oversoul casts a shadow. Because you're a shining one when you reach that point. You're giving off your own light. So this doesn't. You're not a downloader. You're an uploader. Everything that you actually do, you push into the system. You're not looking to actually receive anything back. You become what's called subjective on the subjective plane. And so this is how we graduate through our consciousness. There's even things beyond that. But the one thing that we got to stop doing is playing with Earth. Earth's not playing right now. Like I keep trying to explain to people over and over again that you're watching a sequence of things, and it's not complete yet. But if you know who you're dealing with, you'll know that they make plans, and those plans are a sequence. It's like how when they brought the Chinese into the United States to build the railroads, they didn't bring the Africans that were going to later on be doing the picking for the cotton. Why? Because of a plan. You don't bring them both together. You bring one to do the first thing, get rid of him, and then bring the next one. But what is the goal? A Hadron Collider. You see, they may be thinking 80 or 90 years into the future. Why? Because they can see the future. It's a simple third eye ability. Because that's how we lack this planning. Like, we lack being able to get in that room and say, okay, today results. What are we going to do? Well, it looks like there's heavy potential within Oregon right now to actually cure a lot of situations to suck out negative door. All right, what kind of geometric symbols do you actually have in order to incorporate that with? And give me your science and your actual hypothesis behind it. Then somebody comes to present this. Actually, we already have a working model. All right, let me shield myself and let me see. And what I mean by let me shield myself is, did we not remember Hoshin? Meaning that there's 12 crystals that one wears that harmonizes them with the planetary sphere if they're harmonic. Don't go throwing on the breastplate of Aaron if you don't know how to be in the stage of consciousness of the Aryan, meaning the one who is all the way on top of the mountain in the crown state of consciousness and has not soaked themselves into the deep mire of the root chakras in the netherworld. So this is about a deeper level of this. This is what I'm just dubbing it spirit tech. You know, and that's not even going to hold for long. But the reason why I'm calling it that is because I realized, like I was saying earlier, that this technology that we have running around here is not technology. That this stuff could clean the ocean if we wanted it to. You just program it right, build a thing, 3D print it, and then put it right in the water and have it suck up all of the stuff and just filter it out the other side. That's technology, okay? And so the other thing is that we keep getting things in this world and then actually thinking it's always the bad thing, the negative thing, the evil thing. But we have to realize how to transmute it. And I will say the transmutation of language is experience. Transmutation of Kabbalah is experience, because there's a big difference between individuals who know Kabbalah versus individuals who really know Kabbalah, which is only involved with entities. Only involved with entities that are actually diametrically opposed to human. That's why they keep it quiet. That's why it's a secret society. That's why Pythagoras tested. Look it on Wikipedia. Pythagoreans tested to see the levels of degrees in which you would not tell a secret before they ever gave you the master secret. What was the master secret? The master secret was that they were working with the entity that was going to try to destroy Earth. There's no bigger secret. Think about it. Like, what would be the big secret if you have tones, vibrations, all this stuff already? Well, what else do they need to tell you? It's like being a Mason going all the way to the 32nd degree. Like, what would the degrees beyond really about? What do they need to tell you? They need to tell you the last thing. They need to drop the bomb on you. Basically, they need to see if you're going to be just as malignant as them and be one of them, because that's very rare. Generally, anyone that hears about what they're doing or happens to hear about it goes in the other direction, okay? So this is when a person is trying to see if they really are born evil, if they really are malevolent, which are actually very few, because after all, this is Earth. But once the person gets to that point, then they're told the secret. The dweller, the confined one, which was the being that Thoth trapped in the pyramid that is dead but dreaming, so thus programming all of the prisms or chakra or auras or skin, terrifying people in their dream, doing different things to them all the time, meaning you and your friends carrying out on deeds in which you cannot control. Okay? And that's because the controller of the dream is still here on the planet. And they work for the controller of the dream. And that's what the whole chthonic mysticism was really all about. And then, like I said, keep thinking it's a game. And that's why it only takes a real Kabbalist, a Rav Mag, to really understand what Kabbalah is really about. Because once you change vibration to one of the lesser spheres, that's why there's a greater key and a lesser key. Why? Because the greater key rules over the lesser key. That's what Thoth told them. I have the master key. The master key is what rules all the religions that have already been spread about by the Atlanteans across the world. So when you go there, you bring them the master key. And what is the master key? It's an Ankh. Okay? The Ankh consists of two symbols, a circle and a T. The circle is the code of death. The T is the code of death. That's the cross that you see that the Christians carry. So that was the master key. And then, but how was the master key brought about? Through language. Like, that's what Thoth taught. Thoth took everyone away from memory, because once language could be written down, now we didn't need to use memory. Just like if we're programming stuff in these computers, we don't feel like we need to know that person's number anymore, right? And so this is a gradual thing, right? And I've been watching, right? But I haven't been on this planet. I've been watching from another perspective, because that's how you have to see it before you can really know what's going on. You can't be inside of it talking about you know what it's about. You have to leave for a certain period and then watch it from aloft. And what I've seen is exactly what's going on. And that's why I don't have no regrets. I am not holding back on these beings. I am not afraid to tell people, no matter what they think, the real truth, because I penetrated all those systems. Because that's something that I have to do for myself. It has nothing to do with how many people follow me, how many people believe in me. This is just an after effect. And that's the other thing I want to tell people. If you're looking to get something and it's petty, you're never going to get it. You have to go after something that is the trickle down of it. They kind of gave you a hint of this in Revelation. They call it the sevenfold spirit. And this is because anything that you do great, because you're still in this prism divided by 7 with 2 individual colors making 9, 2 invisible individual colors for sure, making 9. But those 7 are actually the seeds that you actually reap from whatever it is that your actions are. So this is a very unique point that we can be in, because as gardeners, which we are, you can plant seeds, ideas, face of your consciousness, as we've been talking about today. They're in certain parts of the cycle, mainly the first point of the waning moon, and then expect it to fully develop, or you reap what you sow by that point. And that's just a simple phenomenon. It's like using a real clock to decide when you're going to plant and when you're going to reap yourself. And so this kind of thing is what I'm talking about, getting people back in touch with. Not more of the things that people don't really understand or haven't really gone into. But if you want to understand the height of it, YHVH was a name. It forms a cone in the chest. This is very similar to basically hiding a nuclear weapon inside of yourself. You better have the conductivity necessary to be able to hold the force coming behind it, because it's a group force, meaning that it actually is not supposed to be harnessed by one man. And that's why they actually left it. They didn't touch it. If you understand what Moses and Aaron and those that were working the craft, which is Solomon, those who were using the demons or the diamonds or the divided people to build the temple, or basically to build their structures in their world, if you understand exactly what they were really doing with it, then you understand where the real craft comes from and how that craft is against human beings. And where I'm at this point is that I see them. Not only that, I've grown beyond them. It is very difficult to get beyond that, because that's when you're actually in one of these systems, and you might be in Chaldean mysticism. It's unsluggish magic. You think this Kabbalah that they're talking about with that's half Yiddish is worth anything? Come on. Like, it's Chaldean magic. Chaldean magic, then you're not even going to play. They start knocking on the doors and start rattling shit. Then you'll realize how you're scared, and that humans are hymen, that they're still virgins, because you can't even take that kind of fire in your vicinity and be inside of a human body unless you've cracked into Kundalini, meaning when you get another spirit in the room with you, the essence that it's giving off, it's so strong, you have to either be able to match that essence or flood that essence. Why? Because it's going to put you in fear. And so you have large groups of humans on the planet now that are in fear because they're opening up these vaults. The vaults are being opened for them. It gets suggested to them, meaning that they're delving into deeper levels of the craft through the gateways. Who are the gateways? The gateways are all the individuals that are in the industry being sent out by the priests, Liar Cohen, all the different Cohens that are in the industry. The Kohanim are the ones who have Aaronic bloodline connection. They generally are marked somewhere with an inverted pentagram. They use the craft on those individuals in order so that they can work the spell through tones and vibrations, which is the music. So this is all a dynamic, right? And when you're in it and you're a being like me, it's sad because you realize that around every single corner it seems to be a trap for a person. Every time that they think they've gotten out, they've gotten into a deeper level of it. And this is because they've never been out before. And what happens is when you're out, it's almost like letting a dog out of a cage. The person just runs. You may never see him again. You ever let a dog out, he's ready to get out, he's just gone. Right? And this is what happens when a lot of people do get out. If you're wondering what's wrong with Cousin Jeff and why he's crazy, because when he got out, he left. The body remains because the body is animate. It does have a certain level of senses, but it doesn't have enough to not make the person be what you would call crazy, unless you've grown your magnetic body beyond this sphere. And then I'll finish this like this. Remember, the goal of spirituality, study of the soul, is to grow your magnetic body beyond these spheres. The spheres are atmospheres. It's not so much as one planet to the next planet, but all planets meshed on top of each other. That's why we're on top of the ancient empires right now, and many of them are that one empire, because that's what an empire is still ruling. Okay? And this is the interesting thing to think about, because you may be standing, especially if you're in Scotland, especially if you're wherever, you may be standing on land that there's a bloody battle going on right now in no time. And if for the ones, the real time lords, the keepers of the key, they don't deal with time. So they actually see the entire dimension as spaces that certain things have taken place. And when you can see these spaces, then you understand kind of why you're there. And I'm just, I'm getting into, other dynamics of the Matrix. But what I'm saying is that this is magnificent. But we have to go together. And we have to create something new. We have to take everything that we've known thus far and then crumble it all up into a Vitamix and get ready to see what the result of it is. But to go back into the old systems that have already been trampled upon will be folly. And it showed it many, many times of other individuals getting affiliated with them and them just not delivering. And if there's one thing I cannot stand, is someone that's not delivering. And here's the other thing. If you can warp time, if you can move time, if you know about that kind of stuff, then what the hell's taking you so long? So the people that are proclaiming that they can do all sorts of different things, there's ways in which things can happen, but it's also about what's safe. Remember, this is an adept course. I'm not telling a person to go pick up the most powerful talisman and try to slap the biggest demon in the face with it. What I'm saying is that this is about us getting together and us thinking about what was really told to us by the real masters of power that were here. And one of the real masters of power that was closest in our proximity was Tesla. He was trying to pull off something, and there's enough documentation about what that something was, and you can see why the world wasn't ready. It wasn't so much of, they killed Tesla and J.P. Morgan and blah, blah. Man, that was all a setup for higher beings that are really watching it from another perspective. What is the world that has not yet pulled a bra out of a box going to do with unlimited perpetual energy for the body? You see what I mean? Back in the 1930s when Tesla and them boys were rolling through, do you think the world was ready for what was that next level of their state of consciousness? They were still Quakers. Still in there half Mormon, it wasn't ready yet. Now it's ready because we're seeing the result of the reality for what we've created. Then also we realize, they're polluting the ocean so fast, our planet is going to die if someone doesn't do something crazy. And this is why I'm telling people to, adapt the state of consciousness that you're ready to stop dealing with whatever you've been dealing with and ready to pull out what may be the most potent thing, because you got to. It's demanded right now. Like whatever it is that you know, whatever it is that you think it works, and how you're just waiting for the right time. The time is now, because this planet, it doesn't have to. My new term, these motherfuckers. The reason why is it holds true. They're motherfuckers. They're fucking their own mothers, meaning that this planet is our mother, and these people are damaging and destroying, and so that's a motherfucker. So it's in its real text then. And this is why we have to get to this point where we're like, okay, enough is enough. But I'm not. This is a spiritual war, though. If I got to suit up again, because we got out of duality. That's when you leave the planet, you leave duality, right? When you come back into the planet, if you become whole, you realize the only thing that's really separate is everyone's different states of knowledge that they think they have. All these different language that they think they have. Those are all the separations, right? So that doesn't exist within you anymore. But if you're looking for actions, you have to be able to make that plan. You got to know step by step, what are you going to do? I got domains reserved for 3 years in the future of when everything will point all towards one name anyway. That's racing into time, going to the end of this, and putting that pipeline back together. Because you know what a person that's really helping the universe is doing? The universe has got this birth canal. And every now and then there's holes that open up and rips that open up. And what those people do is they sew up those holes and they sew up those rips with actions in order to give the world just a little bit more time for its process of emancipation. But guess what? It's happening consistently with different individuals all the time. So it's like a wine cellar, more so than a Jiffy popcorn, meaning that the wine cellar is constantly fermenting different beings that have been here for 2,000 aeons ready to graduate. So that's what I'm saying. We open up based on what we know already, the potential of what can really happen here, and then we get really serious about demanding that we get those results. And then what I'm going to do is, I don't have to do my best. I just have to do what's right in front of me. It's going to give everyone the information that is necessary in the process in which that information should be released, to come into full realization of themselves, which is the most important thing because all is self. And then to get to the last point where you become brave and you go for the experience because you realize that enough is enough with this reading thing and reciting thing. Now you have to go into the experience. You got to cultivate.
Sevan, I just want to jump in here for a sec because I want to really, really, really reinforce what you've been saying. And this is the one thing that drives me bad, where people want to stay literal, defending a literal idea based on a literal illusion without seeing what is really being said over and above that. So if you're in a position where you need to debate to prove a point that this is more right than this, then you are polarized. You are not seeing it anagogically. I can show you the same story in everything. I can show everyone that they are absolutely correct if you look at it from the right perspective. And it's all the same story. If you're debating, that's your ego. If you feel the need to debate, instead of just simply hear with the right ears and see with the right eyes, then you'll be fine. You're not trapped. Again, any of these books are still literal creations in the literal world. And if you stay literal with it, then you are of this world. What I do, and this is where phonics has opened it all up completely, is I see what is being sounded, not said, but sounded in creation. And it's the one thread that goes right through everything. So this is why there is no debating at this table. There is no challenging at this table. I will not tolerate it, and I don't care who it is, because that is an ego position. And I have to thank you for bringing that forth the way you said it. I just said the exact same thing, if you noticed. So go ahead. You're rolling.
For sure. I mean, and this is a real thing because, you know, the other thing is that people are, you know, they're kind of fed up of being inside of this cocoon and not having the powers and abilities. And if it's just direct for us to be able to assess it, and that has something to do with us getting a lot more clarity about what we think we know versus, you know, what's really going on, then we have to be available for that. Like a guy told me before, you know, when I was, you know, headlong into occultism and all of the different levels of it, even from Gnosticism to Christianity and these kind of things, you know, you have to still be available for the next level of your expansion. And this starts to get into not actually setting goals because, you know, then you're giving yourself these limitations. That's when all that stuff just starts to look like limitations when you're saying exactly what something specifically is supposed to do. And then, you know, like I said, we get right into the action of things, and it just renders a just entirely different experience. But, you know, I got some stuff, like I said, I'm going to be talking about on Sunday that gets into some deeper aspects of the step-by-step of what's gone on because, you know, it's really interesting, you know, just what was just the plan and how the plan was carried out. Because once you understand the plan of how the disempowerment took place, then it actually gives you everything that you need to put yourself back into connection with those that were severed from us. And I can just say it like that because we've all lost someone like that, even if you don't think you have, but we've all lost someone, and there's been some severance there. And then that severance functions like a scar to us. And that's why we become so aggressive at getting back or making that connection again for those of us that are in tune with that. That's really what religion has fed off of. And I learned this from my personal trainer. I found out that he was a Mormon. And before I kind of went in on him, because I just kind of listen more than anything these days, he explained to me why he became a Mormon. And he was basically saying that he had this fear about if his mother died, you know, what he's going to do after that. And then the day finally came where she died. And then so he lived life for years in fear until he met this Mormon. And this Mormon told him that if he became a Mormon, then he would have an opportunity to give his mother another chance if he said a certain kind of rite. And his mother would get another chance to live earth. And maybe if she became a Mormon, then she would go to heaven. And this guy then completely committed his life to being a Mormon and joined the Mormon family. And so there's nothing you can tell him about it. So if you really understand that just from where a person's heart was damaged, and then that was the patch that they put there. And then when you go back in and you're trying to do that integral work, you may pull off that patch if you don't watch what you're doing and then get a gusher or a bleeder, meaning the person you just completely are in conflict with them because you've actually pulled off something that's patching an even greater pain that they have. And so that's what I was saying about just me personally on my path. Getting stuck into one system has always proved to me to be something that I'm sticking into one of those parts of me that are damaged, and I'm just using that as my shield in a certain sense, or my Band-Aid to it. And then when going into a more graduated state, you're comfortable naked, right? And then you feel like in every sense that all of your jewels and your value and everything is actually there with you when you're naked. And I think that was, of course, the parable of Inanna, where she was stripped of all of these jewels and different things, and then before she reached the bottom of the netherworld. And it's interesting because if we really think of even how our dimension is right now, our planet, and we know what we're capable of doing, but we know what we're actually doing right now. So that would mean that gap would put us in some kind of netherworld. So we're like living that metaphor, that feminine side of us actually being stripped of its earrings and its decorations, basically its chakras and its jewels, and then being on this planet, not having those abilities, but still needing to summon within yourself that you really are priceless. You see what I mean? So that's what we're now getting into, is that, and to create that, to really, like I said, get a person into the position where they're pulling off that patch and they're putting something back in there. What they have to put back in there is experience. Like they have to go, you have to be with them. And this is what you're only seeing a small part of it with guys like Tony Robbins, which they train themselves to do that. But it's basically that because he's got guys doing his PR, he's got guys doing pretty much everything, and he doesn't need the money personally, he can focus now on his work, right? So he's in there, he's pouring his heart out, he can actually connect. And this is just, it's energy dynamics, it's how it works. He can connect to everyone in it. That's why everyone says, it feels like he was just talking to me. And it's because the person has so comfortable within what they do and what they're capable of projecting that, they've reinforced themselves. And this is also where we have to reinforce ourselves by all means with what we know to be the future of this planet and the real destination of it. And what we should see, if we're seeing in unison, is very shortly individuals becoming equipped with the proper tools that are necessary for them to unseat the negative energy that is existing on the planet that's first existing within them, meaning see the Illuminati in you. Like, this is getting a little crazy about pointing the finger outside all the time when making the same actions but on a baby scale as the same other being that one is complaining about. You see what I mean? So this becomes where we all get a chance to grow up, not ask whose daddy's going to beat whose daddy, whose knowledge is more powerful than who else's knowledge, by really seeing, well, how much of our kids really benefiting off of this at the end of the day while we're having all these pissing contests. And then so if there's any type of pissing contest that I get into, it's about delivering that information to remove people from those systems, because otherwise they would be great, meaning that we're not stuck into some kind of limitation that is a never-ending path that doesn't have any real purpose to it. We have real life, actuality, what we wake up to every day, to get ourselves involved in integrally in order to really be something. And you will see the results of that. It's different than a dream. It's more powerful than a dream. And some people, when they say, oh, my dreams. But boy, last time I checked, reality was a lot more powerful in the sense of where we are right now. And maybe later on, the dreams will become completely useful as we gain more control over them. But right now, we do have control over ourselves in the physical reality. We can move this thing. We can work these digits. And so together, we create this large body. And that's all of our knowledge and everything combined. Not one person saying that this is the premium knowledge that we're going to actually go by, but someone saying, it's like if I give you 10 minutes and you need to tell me what was the height of what you learned on that path that you went down, then that is what would make up our annuals and what would make up our books for the new curriculums that we would introduce to our children, to give them the benefit of the doubt of not creating time, which is the distance between when they don't know something and they do know something. Because in reality, like if you really look at the child, it's not familiar with death. So the only thing that we're teaching it with language is death. Think about it, right, Kate? If the child doesn't know death, how and which would you convey it to them? Like, you generally have to convey the whole process of death first through the sight of death and then through the explanation of death. Because even when the child sees it, they actually don't know what happened.
A child must be taught. And we are well tightened up, screwed right down, taught, T-A-U-T. So teach your children well and do not teach them of death as it was taught to you, because it's an illusion.
Wow. And man, I mean, I love that right there. And then, you know, the grades. I was looking at this today, like why skip E? There's A, B, C, D, and then F. You know, it's just like these kind of things. Like I was saying earlier, that's the best way to look at the codes, is because negativity to them is that one straight line. That's negative. That's what they don't want you to do. Positive is these two dualistic crossing lines, right, which are in conflict with each other. That's what the cross is. There's been some kind of conflict there, but that's positive. And it's the same thing as the even and the odd numbers. Odd means not so good, strange. So I guess that means even by subjective thinking means even is good. So this means the number 2, which is duality. The number 4, which means being a portal or a door. The number 6, which means sex or actual conflict. The number 8, which means in consumption to infinity. The number 10, don't let us get on the evilest number of the world, the 10 man. And then that's what they want you to do. Those are the even good numbers, while 1, which is the totality of things, or 3, which is the triplicity or triangulation, or 5, which is fire, the fire, or 7, which is outside time, can't be divided into the 0, or the 9, which is the Enneagram, or the perpetual energy. That's what they don't want you to be. That's odd. You see, so those are like the simple games that are played with it. That's the hard coding, the firmware, where you can't see the forest for the trees. So in a sense, arguing about what sphere is on the Sephiroth of the ninth dash, and never realizing that the whole language is screwed, and just be ready to go and deal with it from an experience level and getting out there, and also being truthful with people and explaining to them, look, we discarded that because it wasn't useful. And then also getting together as inventors and creators and getting back in there. We've been given the ability to fabricate. We got Google, whatever. Like, we only need a little bit of this for a little period of time in order for us to be able to completely do what? Clean it up. It's like when you're leaving the party, but you decide to clean it up before you go. And I see that in humanity's future. I don't see that everyone's just going to all of a sudden get out of like this, just like your friend leaving the house.
Sevan, I got to do an update because 7... we're already running 3 X flares in 2 days, and now breaking news. Oh, just a coincidence. 7 M flares in a day, June 12th. So there's your flare. This is consciousness shifting. Look at what you're doing.
Wow.
Perfect. Because it has to be.
I see that it's just right on time for all of us this time. I mean, we're all together. Like that's the distance and the proximity between us. It's like no matter what's happening, you know how I get over here. It's crazy. But what time are we talking? It's one day before, I guess, the full moon. Tomorrow, that's the other thing. Friday the 13th, another lineup, right? Like, and this is what I would really want to have as my real astrology. Right? That where we take all of the activities that we know to be going on. It takes no gander. And then we're like, shit, there's got to be a lineup happening this week with the Magna Carta, the Father's Day, the Friday the 13th, the World Cup. Do I need to say? The interesting part is how many things have to be said for the clarity to get there. But then that's where experience comes in, because it's like, okay, at the lineup, what should we do then? And that's really what it is about. Like the next line, that these lineups are about people coming together and getting into the actual actions of things. And so, it's going to only get more aggressive as these cycles keep going. And I'm glad, because I feel the energy that's associated with it. I'm ready to do what I need to do at whatever the cost is, because I got plenty of currency to spend, meaning that my currency comes from my Kundalini. And so as long as I keep myself happy, I can generate Kundalini. And people need to also see that, man, get back in there and encourage yourself. Like, still realize the game with this whole blaming on the ego thing, because everyone will tell you around you that you can't do it. They never tell you when you've done something right. You can say everything's splendid, but say that one thing wrong. I didn't like what he said. I don't know about him. So it's that kind of phenomenon. It's the same thing we do with our kids. It's the same thing we do with our spouse, whatever. It's like you see them, they may be making to the bed and doing all sorts of stuff, washing their clothes, but let there be bleach on the panties or the underwear. Oh my goodness,
Hey, Sevan,
you need to learn how to wash. Look what you did to my stuff.
Sevan, here we go. Yeah. This just in from the illustrious Dee Washimoto, and what she shares is so profound. Always tuned in the now with us, and this one has everything to do with you. Are you ready? 10, cerebral spinal fluid. Really, see the absolutely no bridging difference between after the fact, literal, and before the fact when it doesn't yet exist. Can you believe the focus of his tech navigation map? That's speaking of you. Exactly the cerebrospinal fluid, endless death circles that is also the outcome of all artificial hormones inserted into the 12 and 13 Joachim Boaz tubes. 11 generic body systems with these attached at the ends closes this Sevan Bomar, and that's the Christ consciousness in the ovum, BO, 13O, Friday the 13th tomorrow, is concluding the techno-orod fem womb inside the subjective that is etched inside 4 times 7 equals 28 equals 10, King's empty crypt, that is the oath. So, anagogically, what I get from this, again, Dee writes so amazing in a technical sense, but I know everything she's saying just based on the energy of what she is sharing it. And what she does is she illustrates the technical, how you are etherically destroying and dissolving all of the bullshit. Every time we dissolve the bullshit, it's like, do you remember the story of the farmer and the donkey?
Wall down, right?
Yeah, do you remember the story of the farmer and the donkey? The donkey that's the wearing of the key, dawn key, or the light of dawn key to put light on it. When he took the donkey that was of no more use to him and threw it down a well and asked his son to bury it. And shovelful by shovelful, the donkey was fine. And what happened was, every time these things that we shed from ourselves, what happens is that's the dirt that is going into that well or void. And what happens when enough of that is shed, the hole is filled with all of dissolved nonsense, and the donkey, your key, walks free.
Nice.
Just like that.
Definitely nice. Oh man, definitely a very clear transmission. Because I was even visualizing what that's talking about 4 days ago with just the tentacles. Like how many tubes. Yeah, like how many tubes that we've created for people to. It's like a visualization. If your tube is zigzag, the person can't actually see the light while they're in the tube. But if your tube is straight, they can see straight through it, and they can see the light at the end. And that's the difference between when it's very complex versus it's very simple. And that's why trees, paper, knowledge, the serpent, all were synonymous with each other. And even as this remains on the reality of serpents being connected to wisdom, books being on trees, all that was all connected together as one particular system, one particular craft of an experience that we've all had, obviously, with language. And isn't it interesting, because then it puts us in this position, and I just want everyone to really see this, because there's a techno side to this, because some people are wondering how illusionary the world is. It puts us into a position where you see how we have these different programs in the computer, like there's Fortran, C++, all these different languages, right? And then this gives the computer different abilities and different ways of experiencing itself per se, okay? So if we've adopted that kind of nature and then started taking languages, because languages equal these different experiences for us. You come in speaking English, you come in speaking Arabic, whatever. It's going to actually change your world, and we know it, right? Because your worlds are words. Your worlds are words, right? So what's happened then is that just the adapting of these lower language, lesser keys, right? Because I don't want to demonize the whole thing, make it all bad, but adopting that lower language instead of speaking from the higher stages of your consciousness, because even if the face itself is a microcosmic body, the mouth is still placed rather low. It's actually placed below the midpoint. So the mouth then, and this may be like really crazy, but it's cracked right now, is really the sexual organ. That's really what the tongue is. Okay, it's at exactly that position if you use your head as a body. So this means when we get into these higher stages of communication, what we're doing is we're either projecting from that top orifice, which I have notes on here. This is where the male's entry point is, where basically the male vagina is in the top of the head, and there's probably one for the female there too. There's several orifices in the human being. But when we use those terminals in attempt to begin to create the language in the way that we communicate, which actually is amplifying experience. Have you ever done something, you get that rush and you feel that thump coming off the head, because of how much energy your body is really, kicking off. And it's just and then even beyond that, it's also about you can even sit still and do it. You can yell in your consciousness in a certain tense. And so that brings it full circle. I do definitely appreciate, everyone on the line, just, and having the opportunity to build information. Because here's another thing that I saw that we were doing with one another, and I wanted to say this to my brother Paul. It's a really unique thing, and it takes the whole nother graduated being to really even be able to appreciate it. But sometimes a person plays your shadow or your antithesis for a moment so that they can boost you to the next stage, okay? And then from there, once you get boosted, your duty is to pull them up once you get up there, not to turn your back and walk off. And I noticed this from, people in my life, and some people just really get under my nails sometimes, right? And I can get infuriated sometimes when not handling the energy properly, and then I'll make certain moves, tighten certain things down, make things better, change my way of being and interacting, so that way I don't have that experience again. And then look back on the situation now when you're looking at another perspective, as you were talking about earlier, Kate, and then seeing that, man, that person was so instrumental in becoming that shadow of what you needed to see as the antithesis to you not making certain decisions. You have to give a certain level of respect to that person playing that role. It's like watching Pacino, because what they're literally doing is they're spending their current on teaching you that lesson, right?
Providing the contrast. That's why there's no debate. As soon as you can see the contrast, there is no argument. See the contrast in the mirror. So if someone is fighting for a position, that is the contrast you look at. The fight is the illusion. So all I do is look at what is going on, rolls off me like water off a duck's back. You can't offend me. Sorry.
Right. And then, the other thing is that it seems like the old generation, the one that's primarily responsible for a lot of the crazy stuff going on, is really dissipating just from a sheer lack of being able to stay alive. Meaning that we're actually watching at this point the complete turnover of a certain age bracket, and this would make up most of where the Jesuits are these days, as far as the ones that are really in those factions, that didn't actually figure out how to live forever. But the reality is that there's also this major planetary shift that's coming about that's assisting us with what we're doing. It's like we're all experiencing this simultaneously, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Well, just to let you guys know, we got about 8 minutes left here. Sevan, I cannot thank you enough, and I know everyone just loves it when you come on the table with us here. It's always beyond an enlightening conversation, and that's the joy of I get to listen to so many different people, and regardless of what language or means of delivery someone has, it's beautiful to be able to sit here with the thread and go, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And
man, I'm still over here blown because the tongue is actually the sexual organ, and I know that 100%. And so now I can see why.
Can I prove it? Can I prove it? Creation comes between Scorpio and Sagittarius. If you go in the Western, let me show you the allegory. Well, what is between Scorpio and Sagittarius? Well, that's the sphincter. Uranus, your anus, okay? A sphincter is a muscle that contracts in a circular fashion. We have 3. Well, in the case of women, 4, okay? So we have, of course, Uranus, heaven as below, and you have the heart, which is a closed womb. It is a closed sphincter, and it contracts upon itself. The mouth is the open sphincter because it contracts, and it's an opening versus the closed heart. So this is why you must have an open heart, right? So, the Sphinx is Leo and Virgo, and that is the lion and the womb of creation, the heart and the womb. So this is how we birth these things through our own consciousness. That's why, for me, I cannot hear anybody literally anymore. And when people defend a literal position, it drives me nuts, because you're actually defending somebody else's idea that was regurgitating somebody else's idea that was regurgitating someone else's idea, and you missed the anagogic of what it was really trying to tell you. So if I tell you go shoot the bull, you're going to be the one out killing animals. Me, I'm just going to go and have a chat.
Right, or try to destroy it within the bullish character or something. It's like, and that's what I think that all the knowledge ends up resolving to, is that still, even when you're on this higher state, when you're on a higher state of consciousness, balanced state of consciousness, that's what the best thing to say is, you actually can resolve any even foolishness into knowledge, because you're able to just, because it's that malleable. Words are that twistable, right? Like especially with the new languages, they have maybe. And I think maybe if that's the difference between these languages versus the old languages, old languages didn't contain a maybe. Either you did or you didn't. So that kept things a lot more clear. Now it's a lot more missed because it's maybe. Well, I don't know. This gray area, as they call it. Because white plus black equals gray, right?
Well, exactly. And this is the game of to be or not to be. What we have is the two, or the duality of the Christ consciousness, be in consciousness, T, or not, K-N-O-T, tied up in duality of the Christ consciousness in consciousness. So the real game here is simply be. And it plays out in every. I don't care what you tell me in any language.
And that's the experience side of it too. That's when you're closing the door on the dimension. Like you realize that. That's what I was saying. That's the only thing I was in intense driving home through the earlier part of the conversation is that we decide when there's no more time. And as Kate saying, that's when you be. It's like, all right, forget it. I'm responsible for the time. This is just. Let me go ahead and do this thing.
Do you know what the opposite of time is? Time has an opposite. Do you know what it is?
Man, that sends the mind into a loop. Let me know.
It's called now. Now cannot exist in time, and time cannot exist in now. It's a perfect singularity, and that's why we have this. This game is so.
And that's the same thing. That connects to the name right there, Kate, because the name will never be played again. Like right now, the interaction between the harmonics can never be duplicated. You would have to bring the planet into spheres that it would never be able to repeat again. And so that's what this whole language thing is really tied into. It's about trying to recall, but a deformed recollection, right? Because the language can never describe fully, but music is a better channel. And that's why I was saying that's why all indigenous tribes and people and cultures, they had their own instruments. And I'm sure those instruments were more of the frequency that they were on, right? Showing you the whole planetary situation with people residing on their own frequency, right? Somebody's playing bass, somebody's playing saxophone, right? But the whole planet is playing in synonymous, and then it's ringing in with all the celestial spheres, and then that's going on ad infinitum, everyone jamming. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hear you. I totally hear you.
It's just about that rude solo.
Exactly. Now, we got about 4 minutes left here, so I'm going to see if anybody else wants to jump in just to say hi and whatever, Sevan. But again, the door is open. I'd love for you and Paul to tag up at the table, and he's going to be running it tomorrow night, and it would definitely be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, especially with no lag, because then we can really get into it. We can get beyond the. Well, the door's open around the throne for a little bit and then dive right in.
Yeah, again, the door's open, and guys, everyone, you got to be neutral on this shit. If you're defending a position, that's your ego, and all I'm going to tell you is 2 words: fuck off. I've got time for ego. Ego means go, okay, or E, consciousness, G, hex, O, creation. That's what you're doing, and you're caught in a literal time trap. You're caught in a past moment. Need to defend something. You're perfect. What the hell do you need to defend? Huh. Please. It's like crazy. But anyway, anyone else wants to jump in here while we got about 2 minutes just to say hi, thanks, or whatever, guys? There, jump in.
I want to thank you, Sevan. This is Liberty. You are just wonderful to listen to. Kate, I did a lot of your readings today. I am just so enjoying life. I am ready to bring it on. Here I am. I know it's all on my own.
And I feel you too. Like I feel you. Like I'm ready to come. I'm not ready. I'm in. I guess ready is kind of like still before, but I'm fully charged up in this, and I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring it like never been bought before. It's like it's just as simple as getting up in the middle of the Star Spangled Banner when everyone's before, and they say now a moment of silence, and then someone says, "Why are we doing this?" At that moment, everyone would be looking at you, and that lets you understand the power of moments.
I am all in, Sevan.
Small rudder.
All in.
Right? Right, yeah. Kate? Big ship, small rudder.
You got it. Why do you think I put my dancing heels on, for crying out loud? Come on,
man,
get over it.
I'm still thinking about the tongue thing. Like, I'm going to have to go and sit down for a while on the tongue thing. So like Kali's got the tongue out the mouth all the time because that's all what that connects into. Like it's just crazy. But then, it's important to kind of look at the body and see what are all the sexual organs. Like what's the one in your torso? You know what I mean? And, that's what I'm saying. That's where the quest is. The quest lies within us.
It is top to bottom, and I got to experience that the other night on such a level I can't even describe it, nor would I, because it would be considered spirit porn. Anyway. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I love you, Sevan.
I love you, too. And obviously I'll be on Saturday. I'm gonna see if I can get with Paul tomorrow, and then I got Sunday coming up, and this is just warming it up because it's a little rusty tonight. Like this is the first transition. It's funny, Kate, because it always comes on this show. Like I was just listening, like I wasn't planning on jumping in. I got a ton of stuff to file, but here I am.
I love you, Sevan.
I love you too.
And I love you. I love all of you guys. You're all perfect.
I love you, Sevan. I love you, Kate. She Lady loves you guys.
Love you.
I see you there.
And he understands this whole thing, and he wanted to do it in complete honor. And I thank Michael. I thank him, and we are all there standing with him. And the universe will protect him while he's in there. And he is literally changing. He's changing the universe. His universe right now is big. And go ahead.
I was going to say Borean, absolutely. And here's a little allegory to bring this to full force and effect for everyone's reality. What Michael's doing right now is we're coming to the end of this quote war unquote of consciousness. And what Michael is doing right now is he wanted to get in and experience combat before the war was over. And that's it, in a very allegorical sense. And what a way to end this movie. And again, I have no reservations because from my perspective and my own experience and the countless others here that have shared theirs, we know what we have. We have the truth. And everything bends in front of it. Completely.
Agreed.
Well,
no, please go ahead, Kathy.
I just wanted to say when you said that about him wanting to experience combat before it's over, he is a very courageous person. He is a very strong person, a very strong man. He has a very, very good heart. He is a warrior. He does have Scottish in him, so he likes a good fight. So
he likes a good scrap.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's a man who has the courage to stand up for what he believes in, doesn't waver, and he's strong. So yeah, that's a true statement about him. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that's the first time I met him. That was exactly what I felt like. And now, for those, just coincidence that I do these things because I know they're not. But there's a series called The Band of Brothers. Based on, it's a World War II thing. Of course, I look at things anagogically and of the energies and what have you. But there's the episode, I think it's the 7th or 8th episode called The Last Patrol. And in that episode was a brand new, shiny first lieutenant, straight from, what do they call that place for officers in the U.S.?
A Naval Academy or
West Point.
West Point.
Yes, he was and these are real live people based on the history of this 101st Airborne 506 Easy Company. Now there was a patrol. I'm going to use this as an allegory because this I think really outlines, because it's exactly what popped into mind when Borean was talking. And what happened was first lieutenant, who happened to graduate with Dwight D. Eisenhower's son on June 6, 1944. See how the dates had all come in together. And, of course, if anyone watched The Scanners Darkly, there was a poster on the wall that said June 1944 to tie all this together. Again, remember, I'm looking at the one thread that ties it all together. And what happened was this lieutenant, the war was almost over. Everything was starting to simmer down. And, this lieutenant wanted to experience combat before the war was over. And he offered to lead this last patrol for Easy Company, into enemy territory to get prisoners. That was the mission, to get prisoners, not to kill, but to get prisoners. This is why it's so important. What happened then was, because he didn't have the experience, another sergeant who was one of the first of Easy Company led it, but he was the ranking officer acting as an observer. And that's exactly how I see Michael. I see him as the ranking officer, getting experience for combat, while not being completely involved in it, but being involved in it at the same time. And this is the last patrol, hon. And he's the ranking officer in it.
Okay.
This is playing out.
I'm going to pass this on. Okay, I'm going to pass all this on to him. So this will be good for him. He will like to hear this. Thank you.
Well, that's the only thing that resonates with me. It's truth.
Okay.
Michael he's playing a pivotal role in this right now, and watch the outcome. Watch a system buckle under his very gentle feather. Me, I handle it hardcore. So, who else wants to jump in here?
Let me know, Kathy.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That was Wendy. Go ahead, Wendy.
It's Wendy. Hi. Okay. Hi, Kathy. It's Wendy from Australia. Just let him know we appreciate that he's doing this for all of us, and we're all with him there in the cell with him.
Okay.
Their walls are falling. The momentum is now with us. It's our time now. At the most pivotal point in history is Critical Mass Radio, 24/7 Truth Radio. Help us to help you. Please go to www.criticalmassradio.co.uk and subscribe £1, £2 or £3 a month. The critical mass has been reached. We must come together. We must stand together for ourselves, for each other, for our future generations. criticalmassradio.co.uk. Now, it's our turn.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm on. I know that I could hear. I think I can hear the echo now. Okay, good. Anyway, of course, you get to the nitty-gritty and shit like that happens. But just to continue on here, what I'm going to illustrate here, and then we'll bring Kathy in. What I'm going to illustrate here is the connection of the UCC and the UPU. Remember, Uniform Commercial Code is things Babylon, London, money, name, everything that traps you in the physical, and all things Universal Postal Union, UPU, which is your actual spirit. That's why you have an address outside of yourself. When you want to talk to someone, do you not address them? Okay, so this is the other illusion. So pay close attention to what is being shared here and see where we're at, because this lays out in perfect detail the fact that we have both sides of the coin in a stranglehold. It is done. So anyway, carrying on here. My daughter just received a letter today with no name, only an address. Her address from a third party whom requests a payment of, I guess, 10,000 kroner, or basically 1,100 Great British pounds, to be paid immediately. My daughter does not owe anybody any money, otherwise the case will end up in court. Indeed. Just imagine them sue an address. Do they have special address jails if the address don't pay? Nah, I don't think so. Exactly. But let's go even deeper just to make sure we see the anagogic on this. Not the literal. Remember, when I talk of strings that attach you to things in the system, I'm speaking of Rome and London. Remember, Washington, D.C. is just the direct current where everything captured from Rome and London is placed. And basically the holding tank for souls. The direct current of creation herself, which is being completely dissolved and is completely dissolved. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So there is your, for those that need proof, there's your absolute that the name fraud is completely exposed. And the only thing left for people to grasp is what the address is. Remember, reside, which means to kill. So if you say you reside here, or if you're a non-resident, I'm going to tell you why that is such bullshit. And I do want to. I'm not sure how much of it I will share, but I received a recording from Arthur K, who was just in the room. Apparently, truth he can't handle, and removed me from contacts again. So there you go. Sorry, you wanted an opinion. I told you the truth. You can't handle it. That's fine. You can stay in the literal legal, and you can keep enslaving and trapping people in legal. And I assure you that creation is going to bite your ass real hard. You know, so you already knew the truth, Arthur, about your home when you made the sheriff go away with no name joinder. You are playing the game of allowing the demons and wolves back in by talking to others, thinking that legal matrix works. So keep that in your mind. It's not my wish. Once something is solved, to unsolve it again by staying in the legal, literal matrix. But if that's yours, that's yours. And don't say I didn't tell you. So there we go. Non-resident. Well, N-O-N can be pronounced known. Can it not? If an O can sound like an O in ocean, then it can sound like an O in non as well. Known. Resident. Known. To re-kill mind. Remember, Roman law, and I don't care, you can call it common law, civil law, bullshit law, any law in man-made terms is bullshit. It is all the same thing. It's all the same matrix using the one key that has your soul owned called the legal name. So let's just pay attention to that. All right, let's bring Kathy in here and get an update on Michael. And hopefully that was enough time to catch your breath. Kathy, how are you doing? Welcome to the North Table.
Yes, I'm doing fine. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, love.
Okay, wonderful.
Great to have you.
I'm doing good. Thank you. I am breathing, barely, but I'm breathing. Michael did...
CH sounding like a K that can sound like a C, can also sound like an S. Phonics, no rules, all rules, same time. So churches becomes curses, and it works. Synagogues, look up Gog, G-O-G. Temples, and mosques. You might say mosque or mask, it's the same thing. Where the fools of humanity swallowed the Kool-Aid blindly. Bottoms up, fool or choose. Very, very simple. And yeah, I can see where someone that is actually creating harm against another would see that as a threat, because it's basically calling them out for the actions they're doing. And it's a simple request to stop doing that. And if you continue to do it, your soul is forfeit. And that's not my wish for you. It's quite the opposite. So there you go. It was kind of funny, Kathy, you mentioned, as soon as you said soul is forfeit, my email did get through, because it came back about 5 minutes later, postmaster blocked, right? Or couldn't make it through. Normally that happens instantly. So, because I know people were sending Babylon as going along, and it was getting bounced immediately. I'm figuring that they had Kate Of Gaia as a trigger filter or something along that line that was bouncing the stuff back very quickly. After you get one or two of these from people, yeah. This is the effect that Michael is having from the inside out. He's in the belly of the beast as the being to grow to destroy the giant. And like I said, Kathy, I can't think of anyone stronger or better than Michael right now.
Okay. I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers and positive energy towards him. And personally, I'd like to have him out, but
us too, hon.
You know, he has to do. He has to do what he has to do. So
he's standing in honor and truth. And I want you to hear from a few other people at the board. So I'm going to do a call out right now, because I want you to know how important Michael is, just like you, everybody else that's standing. And hon, I cannot even begin to describe the terror I lived through going through this and figuring it out for myself without anyone. So I totally get where you are and know that. And I don't mean just think that, know that. So I just want to do a call out for everybody to have a chat with you, so you know that you are standing shoulder to shoulder, as is Michael, as is everyone at this table. And there's over 1 million listeners here every night. So the word's getting out. So, Wendy, you're in. Randy, love to hear from you. Witness, you're in as well. So, whoever wants to jump in here, and let's give Kathy the power-up of power-ups tonight, because she's right. We just got to make sure she knows she is.
Kathy, our beloved brother is standing in the Whore of Babylon in the gut with the spear, and he's standing as a guide to all of us. And what he's doing is he is showing us the way, and we are following in his footsteps. I give that man all the credit he's due, and I wish that I could have beat him there, but he got the part. So
he got that part, and also, guys, put it in perspective. 200-300 years ago, you'd have got burned at the stake for defying authority. We're a far cry from that, don't you think?
Just a little.
Yeah, so this is what I mean. And even I have to go back to Dean Clifford. I just hope one day that boy will figure it out. Anyway, as he said on a show, I think about 2 years ago, I mean, what do we have to deal with here? Do a few days in jail? Mind you, he's been in since, November? So, but that's because he's being belligerent and he's thinking that he has to get vengeance against the system. That's the only thing holding him there, and the fact that he still thinks he's a name. That's the thing that's harming him and holding him in place. And the universe won't let you go until you figure that out. Michael knows who he is. This is why I know he's exactly where he needs to be. And every minute that he's in there is a festering sore on the Whore of Babylon. And you need to know that this is building up to a crescendo for him. Watch. Who else is jumping in here?
Hi, Kathy. It's Borean.
Hi.
I had the pleasure of talking to Michael before he went in. I had a personal telephone call with him, and he called me because he wanted to pick my brain about a few things, about a situation and what have you. And I aptly let him know what he was getting himself into, and he understood. And in fact, he ended up cutting up his driver's license on the phone while I was talking to him right then and there. And so he understands completely and totally who he is, Kathy, and he wanted to stand in honor because I let him know that even just showing up to court, that is enough to get joinder for him in jail. So he knew that there was a chance, if not a good chance, that this was possible. And the awesome thing about Michael is he completely understands.
He did want me to express a couple things for him, and I'm reading some notes, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. He said that he's 100% fine. He is having a good time. He is having an effect on people in there. He said he's holding his stand and doing it in the space of love. He's standing strong, keeping on regardless of what happens, and he's doing his best to stay on point. He appreciates everybody's efforts on his behalf. He asked that everybody, and this is important, he asked that everybody stay in the spirit of love and the space of love in all this. It is to honor him and his stand if you do. Apparently there have been some calls to the center and some emails with what they have perceived as threats that people were saying your soul is forfeit. And Michael wants, if anybody's going to speak anything on his behalf, he wants them to do it in the space and the spirit of love. He said I was told the calls are coming from all over the country, or the emails. How many there are, I do not know. But he thanks everyone for their interest and care, and he feels blessed by it. He says that he feels they are running scared and don't know what to do with him, and that he is not going to yield no matter what the results are, no matter what happens. So that was everything that he wanted me to communicate to everybody.
Excellent.
And I appreciate everybody's efforts on his behalf, too.
Absolutely. Now, what I'm going to share here is, just a sec. How did that move? Oh, my Outlook is not playing nice. Here we go. Where are we? I got to find the email that I sent that the one? No, there it is. Okay, now keep in mind, as you used a beautiful word, what they perceived as threats. Truth to anyone not standing in the truth and living in a complete illusion, being confronted with that truth as to the harm they're creating on others, will always completely be deemed as a threat, regardless of how gentle you are, truth to anyone. This we know from our own experience. So that being said, here is, I told you guys the email went through, I knew it did, and the soul is forwarded was direct from me. And I only have benevolent intentions. All I like to do is make people fully aware. So the fear that others feel reading truth as it pertains to themselves, because only you can figure out the truth for yourself. I can't sort it for you. All I can share is an experience. And this is what Michael is doing right now. And as I said to you, Kathy, earlier, Michael is where he is because he is the only one strong enough to do that. That's why he's playing that role, just like two others are playing their roles within the system, being grabbed as well. So I just want to remind people of that. Okay? That's why I did 28 days solitary, because I was strong enough to handle it. Where others, I know, it would have crushed them.
Okay.
So it's all good. This is why everything is perfect. Now, so here was the email. Subject line was this: your soul is now forfeit. And it is. This is the reality. While you stand harming others, your soul is forfeit. It is my wish that you don't do that, so that your soul is not forfeit, and come on home. The bliss that awaits you, you have no comprehension of. So it's given completely with benevolence and love. It is my wish that all experience unconditional love and compassion and absolute mercy. But you got to choose that. I can't choose that for you. That's my choice. I choose that. So due to your insistence to murder people spiritually every day, along with your fellow parasites through the legal name soul trap, that's pure truth, by the way, yours and every other servant of the dark souls are now forfeit. And that is truth as well. You serve the whore of Babylon, commerce, crown corpse with your mark of the beast, legal name, as your consent to be dead, of the dead, serving the dead, and those that are your masters through your free will choice to do so. Better not do that. It is that choice that has your soul and countless other ignorant fools like yourself in the bond age, calling it as it is. All harms you create are the same ones you will experience, with this little note to remind you, burned and etched in your mind every time you ask the question, why me? Another truth. Sorry to share that with you, but that's a fact. If you punch someone in the face, expect one back. That's how it works. That's called the golden rule. At least now you know you did it to yourself. There's no one threatening here. You're the only one that is harming yourself. It is my wish, now here we go, it is my wish that you see this and stop your evil ways. The rest is now up to you, so don't bitch about the pain from the nails in your own hands and feet, because you are the one that swung the hammer to put yourself there. You are nothing more than a bail bondsman. No, the term bail is not a coincidence. It is your phonics clue to expose your self-destruction. Have a nice day. And now that you know what was really being said in Revelations 18, where the religio cosis chosenitis priests of Baal taught you fairy tales and their curses, well, you might say churches, but a CH can sound like a K as well, and...
You're listening to Kate of Gaia on Critical Mass Radio. The game is up. Now, it's our turn.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Outside the Box. Yours truly, Kate of Gaia, coming at you, of course, live. Duh. The dead fiction, we'll leave that for the legal name people. Right here live on criticalmassradio.co.uk for a quick shout-out. It's BTR Listener. Thank you, Clarity. BTR Listener, for those that want to Skype in, is BTR Listener 058, of course, 13, Christ Consciousness, and it will be tonight because of what I am going to be sharing with you guys. Yeah, lots of interesting and wonderful, wild, it's been a crazy day on all fronts here. I've just been literally hit the floor running this morning and I haven't stopped. And it's all good. It's all good. So BTR Listener 058, put that in your Skype contact search. Hit search if you don't already have it listed. Remember, some of these numbers, guys, you can just call up in your Skype as soon as you hear it and right-click it and hit call. That'll bring you straight to the board. Once you're on the board, of course, you can hit 1 on Skype through the Skype dial pad. And for those that are calling in the landline, and Kathy, yes, I see your number there. I'm just going to do a little intro kind of thing, and then we're going to get you on board here. So just breathe and let's just zone in here and have a beautiful meeting, which I know it will be. The phone number to call in is 661-467-2401. And I just want to begin. I got to tell you, it is when you get the joke, when you really get the joke, this place just gets more insane as you go, and funnier at the same time, which is very difficult for people to see if they're caught up in any form of a drama without actually seeing what's going on. I did have an opportunity to chat with quite a few people today, and all good. So what I'm going to do is, for those that at this table regularly, you'll know that Kathy is Michael's husband, and Michael is the gentleman standing in the Maryland area. As I like to tell anybody, I had my opportunity to stand. I had 28 days of driving the system nuts from the inside, and it was actually, as painful as it was a lot of fun too, knowing exactly what I was doing while I was there. So, solitary, of course, being trans, they have to put me there, but I assure you, had I not been there to put me there anyway, last thing you want is this mouthy tranny walking around talking to people all day, every day. That would just not work for them, especially when the truth is as simple as no legal name, no game, and that's the only thread that's connecting. And one of the things that you guys are really starting to see and point out, and I'm loving watching it, is the anagogic nature of this reality, where you're seeing the causal effects of a system crashing down around its own ears, which is the net effect of destroying itself by definition. Lots of panic in the British passport offices lately. Also seeing some pretty awesome transformations. Let me just go to a couple of things, and then I'm going to bring Kathy in here. Where was it? Okay, sorry, I had to get to my messages on Facebook. Here we go. This one's in from Chris. I love the Z thing as soon as I get it open here. And just wanted to share this. Oh, and by the way, guys, anything that you do not need to ask me for permission to use anything that is connected to me on the website, documents, all of it. It's in the internet, the Ethernet for all, given freely for those that wish to use it freely. Do not seek permission outside of truth, outside of self. If it feels right, copyrights are for fictions. I don't play in the fiction world. I accept all things from creation as all things from creation, going back to all things creation. I do not make or claim anything, and at the same time am part and claim of all things. So try that one on. You don't need to ask me for permission to use anything. The songs are up there, the essays are there, all the information's there, and the truth be known, I can't give it away fast enough. So that's your answer, okay? Please, you can use whatever information, whatever linking, that's fine. Again, the only thing I will say, if you are going to quote me, if you feel the need to do that, then quote me directly. I've had it happen in the past where people have put my name to things that I did not write. And I would ask that you don't do that, because I have enough to do without trying to break something down analogically to prove why it is from me as it is from all of you.